Chapter 14-15. Granny did you just send a message to this little guy? A pretty girl asked the old woman sitting at the Three Pristines Palace. The old woman touched the girl's hair and said, "Although your sister is called a supermonster, this Lin Chen is not a simple person. To be honest, I can't see through him." The old woman's eyes became as sharp as a sword for an instant. This kid is the most terrifying type? Lin Chen was not in a hurry to attack. He sized up Yuexaner. She was also one of the top 10 beauties of the monster ranking, but she was more like a gentle fairy than the little demon empress. She was graceful and charming, and she was the type that became more and more elegant the more he looked at her. She was a completely different kind of beauty from the charming little demon empress. Lin Chen was more and more entranced as he looked at her. He clicked his tongue in wonder. Such a beautiful girl. Yuexaner's face blushed, and she covered her mouth and smiled. However, he sighed in the next moment. She's so beautiful. She'll cry for a long time if I punch her. Yuexaner, buzz! She waved her hand, and a purple ribbon fluttered in the moonlight. Yuexaner stepped on the moon and smiled like a fairy in the moon. Then please show mercy, Prince Lin Chen. Whoosh! The purple ribbon shot out, flowing with the aura of life and death. It was like a flash of light, crossing thousands of miles and surrounded by faint moonlight. It seemed to be very small, but it split the lava below in half. After opening all 40 Saint acupoints, Lin Chen grabbed with his hand, and the sky shook and space shook. Lin Chen actually managed to stop the purple silk in an instant, grabbing it tightly. "It doesn't seem like it's enough to defeat me." Lin Chen smiled coldly, and with a flip of his hand, he wanted to pull Yuexaner into the close combat area, but who would have thought that the purple silk would actually wrap around him, as if it had a mind of its own, tightly binding him. 9 Binding Heavenly Seal. Yuexaner's hand seals changed, and her saint power turned into thousands of threads and bound Lin Chen, sealing him in a cocoon of light. Many people in the Three Pristines Palace cried out in surprise. Lin Chen is finished. He's too careless. Could it be that this brat is the type of person who is intoxicated by success? Yuexaner's purple smoke damask can't escape once it's wrapped around you. Once, it even bound a star-receiving cultivator alive and destroyed his saint body. In the end, only his spiritual body was left. While many mighty figures were exclaiming, only a small number of people had solemn expressions. Lava Plane. Grade 7 Sacred Artifact? Even in a Rank 8 sect, a Grade 7 Sacred Artifact was a sacred artifact. Aside from a handful of people, almost no one else possessed one. For Yuexaner to be able to wield a 7th grade sacred artifact, it was clear that her family had high expectations of her. Lin Chen smiled with great interest. "It seems that if I destroy this thing, I can replenish the set essence that I spent on expanding my acupoints." Lin Chen activated 70% of his saint energy. TSK. Bang. The purple silk exploded, turning into fragments of light that filled the sky. The broken light gathered and once again turned back into the purple silk that wrapped around Yuexaner's snow-white arm. Her face was full of astonishment. Even this couldn't restrain him? Rumble. A pair of black wings formed by saint energy appeared behind Lin Chen's back, and his figure flashed in the air. Yuexaner waved her hand lightly, and thousands of flower petals poured down like a curtain of rain, forming a sea of flowers that enveloped Lin Chen. Every flower had the power to pierce through stars. Bang, bang, bang. When the flower petals fell, the entire lava plain exploded with sparks as if they wanted to destroy the entire plain. Lin Chen clenched his fist and punched toward the sky. The saint energy in his fist had the power to overturn heaven and earth. TSK. Bang. A punch dispersed the flower petals that filled the sky. Immediately afterward, a cold light flashed like a dragon. Yuexaner pointed her finger again, and it was as fast as saint energy, arriving in an instant. Many rank 8 sects were shocked and solemn. With their experience, they could see that none of this woman's cultivation methods or battle skills had such earth-shattering momentum. However, each one of them had an extremely powerful aura that seemed to have returned to one's original state. However, in the next moment, Lin Chun tilted his body slightly, and with ease, he managed to dodge that ridiculously fast finger beam. He even slashed his hand horizontally, and the 9-colored saint energy sliced through Uxin's shocking finger light like a blade. Prince Lin Chun, how long are you going to hide? Uxin stepped on the starlight and the moonlight and appeared behind Lin Chun like a ghost. She pointed her slender fingers at Lin Chun, and her orange tear finger techniques were as smooth as flowing water. Is Xin's strength not enough for you to fight seriously? Uxin gritted her teeth and attacked Lin Chun with powerful orange tear cultivation techniques instead of retreating. Lin Chun suddenly smiled. You want me to be serious, don't you? With a shake of his shoulders, Lin Chun activated his cultivation technique and opened all of his saint acupoints. Rumble! Uxin's eyes trembled when his saint energy suddenly shattered the void within thousands of miles. Lin Chun raised his hand and threw a punch. The saint acupoints in Tai space trembled violently, and endless saint energy cut off the plane as he threw a punch. Chi! Rumble! This punch didn't have any fancy techniques, only the purest saint energy. It destroyed all of Uxin's moves and battle techniques, forming a spinning fist wind that went straight for Uxin. Whoosh! As if it had a mind of its own, her purple scarf fluttered and floated up, blocking in front of its master. There was a shocking explosion, and the purple scarf was shattered into dust, scattering attribute light balls all over the sky. The light on Uxin's peach dress dimmed, and she was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Lin Chen's figure flashed, and he caught the beauty's slender waist. This plain was full of lava. Although her cultivation was high, she could still be disfigured temporarily if she wasn't careful. Lin Chen asked with a smile. It was a serious punch. How do you feel? After saying that, he used the Saint Dragon possession and injected a trace of Yin-Yang Dragon Qi into the beauty's body, stabilizing her injuries. With the cultivation of life and death realm, as long as there was enough saint energy, she could recover very quickly. Uxin's jade face was bitter. Too powerful. I feel like I'm drowning in fear. If it weren't for the purple scarf protecting her master, she might not have woken up again even with the protection of a 6th-grade saint artifact. How can there be such a terrifying acupoint expansion realm cultivator in this world? He's so strong that it's against the rules. Uxin's heart was bitter. None of the top 10 beauties on the monster ranking were pretty, but when she faced Lin Chen, she felt a deep sense of powerlessness. It was like an insurmountable mountain in front of her. I admit defeat. Uxin finally surrendered. Lin Chen shrugged, too lazy to be a gentleman. He let go of the beauty's slender waist, and with a wave of his hand, he took away all the attribute light balls. Purple light gathered and the purple scarf appeared again. A 7th-grade saint artifact was not so easy to destroy. However, it had been destroyed by Lin Chen once, and its light had dimmed. It would probably take a long time to recover with gold saint origin coins. It could be considered a heavy blow. After watching this battle, a few powerful figures in the Three Pristine's palace fell into a strange silence. Under their calm faces, there was an unprecedented storm. When Lin Chen attacked just now, according to their perception, the fluctuation of saint power was no less than 60 trillion dragon power. It was terrifying to think about it. What did this mean? Either he had taken a pill that could temporarily increase his cultivation, or he had used an extremely rare top-level secret combat skill. Either that, or he had used some kind of secret external force. The last possibility was the most difficult to accept for all the powerful figures. It was also the most terrifying and most likely possibility. That was, his real acupoint expansion times was not 30,000 times, but more than 100,000 times. No, to be precise, it should be more than 120,000 times. Family head Zhao shook his head and laughed. He found it hard to believe. 100,000 times acupoint expansion times? Are you writing a novel? Who are you trying to scare? Chapter 14:16. The battle between Lin Chun and Yu Xian was one-sided. Did he need to use external forces and elixirs? Not at all. That was an obvious fact. However, expanding his acupoints by 100,000 times was even more ridiculous. All the mighty figures refused to believe it. That was against the laws of nature. My cultivation is enough to support my mental state to perform the best alchemy. I wonder if I can refine divine pills that are at the peak of grade 7, or even grade 8. As Lin Chun returned to his seat, his heart was filled with anticipation. That's right. For Lin Chun, there were 3 ways to increase his strength. The first was to collect the essence of the set and upgrade the 4-piece God of War set. The second was to increase his basic cultivation. However, his acupoint expansion was too terrifying. If he wanted to condense his acupoints in a short period of time, he would need to accumulate more. The third was to improve his alchemy skills. The powerhouses that he brought back from the sacred penitentiary were ridiculously powerful. However, they were all injured and could not show their faces in public yet. If he could improve his alchemy skills, he could heal their injuries first. Even if he could only heal half of their injuries, it would be an unprecedented combat power. Host has consumed 99 top-tier cultivation technique soul essences, integrating the system's alchemy syllabus. Lin Chen's original body and avatar quickly merged their memories. Lin Ping and stood by his side to protect him. Although he looked harmless, there was a strange glint in his eyes. In less than 3 days, the results of the 3rd round were out. Most of the people who made it to the next round were super freak. Their acupoints were either close to 1,000 times or more. Every time there was a change on the list, it would cause a huge commotion in the outside world. Swoosh, swoosh. The list rolled again and the list kept changing. All the freakish prodigies were looking forward to it. They were hoping that they would not encounter opponents that were too powerful. The rewards for the Stairway Heaven competition this time were different from the previous ones. Those who made it to the top 500 would have access to the battlefield of the 9 tribes. The battlefield of the 9 races was one of the most intense events in the history of the Saints' world. It belonged to an extremely vast spatial plane. Even the current humans could only create a single spatial entrance. They were unable to interfere with the plane too much. When the sacred boundary had first opened, the dragon race, the human race, the Azura race, the dark shadow race, the devil race, and the insect race had started a great war in the ancient desolate plain. To this day, no one knew the secrets of the first battle. The powerful cultivators who died back then became the opportunity for the young blood of the current generation. Due to the restrictions of the plane, after the Great Battle, the plane collapsed and could only allow powerful cultivators below a certain level to enter. For example, the human race would trigger a space-time storm if they entered the battlefield of the 9 clans with a cultivation base that exceeded the star reception realm. The chances of survival were extremely slim. Therefore, this time, the humans had selected the strongest people below the star realm on the genius roll. Anyone who could enter the battlefield of the 9 clans would gain far more than any experience in the outside world. But at the same time, the experts they had to face were even more terrifying. This was because in the current battlefield of the 9 clans, firstly, there was the existence of the demon clan. Secondly, every time it opened, there would be experts from various clans pouring in. Schwa, schwa, schwa. The glazed ranking list rolled rapidly. When the names appeared one by one, the monstrous talents were sad and happy. but more of the 8th grade almighties were paying attention to the situation of one of the candidates for the championship and the biggest dark horse, Lin Chen. As if a battle was inevitable, when Lin Chen's name stopped rolling, Zhao Mingyu's name also stopped. At this moment, everyone's expressions were extremely interesting. Zhao Mingyu of the genius role against Lin Chen of the genius role. They actually met. And it was the third round. The two of them had not even reached the finals, and they were already facing each other. This battle was the focus of everyone's attention. The people of the Yi family and Zhao family all stood up and looked at Lin Chen, who only had Lin Pingon and the little demon empress by his side. Zhao Mingyu's eyes revealed the confidence and calmness of controlling the universe. Potential was potential, combat strength was combat strength, the two were two completely different things. Even if Lin Chen had a hidden card, he did not think that he would lose. Lin Chen exited the state of merging cultivation memories. When he opened his eyes, the corner of his mouth rose. They met so quickly? That's good. Some things are better settled in advance than holding it in. Lin Chen stood up and stretched his body. The little demon empress said with a rare serious face, "If you really can't do it, just give up. The opponent has shown killing intent and obviously wants to kill you. My matter is a small matter, your safety comes first." Lin Chen looked at the little demon empress in surprise. He stared straight at her, and after a while, he suddenly laughed and said, "Is this still the fearless little demoness that I know, the one who always wanted to cause trouble?" The little demon empress rolled her eyes at him. She was so charming and beautiful that even Lin Chen was stunned for a moment. He shook his head and laughed. "Bah!" Lin Chen snapped his fingers and stepped into the hall. "Don't worry, this time I will count your share and return it to the Zhao family and Yi family. Sword Region, Pill Region, 10,000 Flames Palace, and Realm Tower." Everyone sent sound transmissions to Lin Chen and told him not to fight head-on. Safety first, victory second. It was obvious that they recognized the gap between Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu. Lin Chen touched the tip of his nose and laughed while shaking his head. "Why do I feel that everyone doesn't think highly of me? But, forget it, it doesn't matter." Outside Dragon City, Class 66 and the others couldn't help but feel nervous. "Class Monitor, are you alright? The opponent is in the life and death realm. The gap between the Saint realm is so big. Although Class Monitor is invincible, he is still too far away from that realm. It's fine, Class Monitor is the best in the world. Class Monitor has surprised many people from the 9 prefectures. Class Monitor is like that, and this battle is also like that." Lu Lin Yu Lin Lin and the other girls looked at each other and smiled. Only Yen Qianyun's beautiful eyes were looking at the light screen, and there was a trace of worry and doubt between her brows. She had a bad feeling in her heart. "Mingyu, wait." At this time, Patriarch Zhao stopped Zhao Mingyu, who was about to go down. "Take this item. When necessary, I allow you to use it." When Patriarch Zhao opened his palm, a small 9-colored dragon was lying in his palm, like a spirit beast sleeping peacefully. This is the 9 Tribulations dragon energy." "Father, what do you mean?" Zhao Mingyu was shocked. He was both surprised and ecstatic. The 9 Tribulations dragon energy was the Zhao family's treasure. Only by refining the 9 Tribulations dragon energy could the Zhao family's secret technique be maximized. Only by refining the 9 Tribulations dragon energy could one be called the patriarch of the Zhao family. The significance of this was equivalent to him, Zhao Mingyu, obtaining the qualifications to inherit the position of patriarch. "When necessary, I allow you to use this item. My Zhao family's reputation and grand plan cannot be lost here." Patriarch Zhao's face was serious. Zhao Mingyu smiled and said, "Father, don't worry. Even if I don't have the 9 Tribulations dragon energy, I will definitely be able to kill this person." Patriarch Zhao's eyes were deep as he looked at Zhao Mingyu's back. In order to ally with Yi family's Yi Lishue, he had put in a lot of effort behind the scenes. Others might not know, but he, Patriarch Zhao, knew Yi Lishue's shocking secret. This woman's bloodline was extremely strong. Yi Lishue's mother was once related to the legendary True God. And the little demon empress who had inherited Yi Lishue's bloodline was even more worthy of their Zhao family to fight for. Once Zhao Mingyu and Yi Qingwu had a descendant, that kind of existence could revitalize their Zhao family with their own strength. My Zhao family will not lose this battle. No matter what this person's background is, he cannot become a hindrance to my Zhao family. Chapter 14-17. This battle was the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone was looking forward to it. The biggest dark horse in the history of the monster rankings against one of the top super monsters. Everyone recognized Lin Chen's potential, but they also knew how terrifying Zhao Mingyu was. He was the next head of the Zhao family, a peerless monster of the current generation. He could fight beyond his level as easily as eating and drinking. He was regarded as a monster who was qualified to be in the top 1,000 of the monster rankings. The trump cards of such a person were almost impossible to be lower than anyone else's. Similarly, Lin Chen was the same. This lunatic who had expanded his acupoints by 30,000 times and challenged the monster rankings enforcers. Who could guess how many trump cards he had hidden? This battle was the most interesting and suspenseful battle of them all. Whether it was the people of Dragon City or the mighty figures, they all wanted to see who would win. Both sides entered the battlefield. This time, the battle dimension was actually teleported to the giant elephant dimension. The gravity and sturdiness of this dimension were 1,000,000 times stronger than the normal dimensions of the sacred boundary. Ordinary sages of level 3 could barely fly here, let alone fight. However, for Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu, it was a piece of cake. When both sides were suspended in the air, an old figure flashed at the end of the dimension. It was the referee of this battle. This kind of battle was very easy to kill. The loss of either side was a loss to the human race of the sacred boundary. Clang! A long cry broke through the clouds. The golden halberd blade was like a crescent moon, and its sharpness soared into the sky as if there was a dragon coiling around it. Oh! Rank 7 again. Lin Chen was surprised. Zhao Mingyu was a man of few words. He attacked with his halberd, sweeping across the sky. Clang! A saber light flashed and blocked the halberd. It split the clouds, leaving behind a dark red saber mark. Faced with the incoming halberd, Lin Chen swung his saber, which was filled with bloody flames. The saber light flashed and the halberd light flashed. The two of them had just entered the battle dimension and were already fighting fiercely. This time, Lin Chen finally didn't hide his saint power. All his saint acupoints were fully opened, and he was carefree. Every saber attack split the clouds and split the stars. Clang! After a round of collision, both sides were evenly matched, and both were forced back 10 steps. At this moment, Lin Chen held a saber in his hand. His domineering aura surged wildly, and his wild aura overflowed in all directions. His saber was completely dark red, like a demon's saber dripping with blood. The saber's body flowed with a sharp aura that could destroy everything. The saber's hilt was inlaid with a dragon's eye. With a slight blink of the dragon's eye, it could release flames that could burn the sky, destroy everything, and look down on the world. It was the grade 7 saber weapon, Absolute Blaze, that Lin Chen had forged using Old Man Xianyuan. All the mighty figures were shocked. This kid's saber is also of the 7th grade? It's here. Lin Chen is finally getting serious. F***ck, after waiting for so long, this brat is finally going to show his true strength. Too strong. He was actually on par with Zhao Mingyu? Is this kid still human? I have never seen such a ridiculous aperture-augmenting cultivator. It's not over yet. Neither Zhao Mingyu nor Lin Chen used any martial arts or battle skills. The moment the two started fighting, Lin Chen's performance caused everyone in Dragon City and Three Pristine's palace to explode. When Zhao Mingyu opened 56 Saint Acupoints, he could unleash 22 trillion dragon power points. After reaching Life and Death Realm, 6 Saint Acupoints increased his Saint Acupoints by 3 times, which was 88 trillion to 90 trillion dragon power points. Lin Chen, on the other hand, expanded his Saint Acupoints by 31,513 times. With the Extreme God's Possession talent, the number of Saint Acupoints increased by 4 times. The actual multiplier was 157,565 times. 15756, times the explosive power was 78 trillion to 790,000 dragon power points. That's right, in terms of battle power, Zhao Mingyu's cultivation was obviously higher. However, the attributes of each strand of Saint Acupoints in Lin Chen's Saint Acupoints were ridiculously strong. The reason was simple. It was Lin Chen's elemental attributes. Lin Chen's 9 elemental attributes had increased by a few hundred times before and after entering the holy prison. A few hundred times didn't seem like a lot. In the eyes of Life and Death Realm geniuses, the increase wasn't much. However, after being magnified by Lin Chen's abnormal acupoint expansion, the increase was immediate. It could completely make up for the difference of 10 trillion dragon power points. However, even so, from Life and Death Realm onwards, Saint Realm cultivation couldn't be measured purely in terms of strength. After Life and Death Realm cultivators were tainted with Life and Death Qi, especially with the addition of Death Qi, their lethality was even greater. Your acupoint expansion is indeed fishy. However, you still have to die. Your ending won't change. Zhao Mingyu sneered. His halberd was like a flash of light as it pierced more than 1,000 times in an instant. Clang clang clang. Lin Chen swung his halberd. His blade aura was so dense that the so-called million times gravity couldn't affect the two of them at all. What's going on? Is there something wrong with his blade? When my soul-slaying halberd gets close to his blade, it will pause for a moment. Seeing that the situation had changed, Zhao Mingyu changed his halberd technique. The 20 mid-grade odd crystals and 2 high-grade odd crystals in his body shone brightly. Sky Wolf Slaughter! The halberd slashed down and the halberd turned into a rolling sky wolf that pounced over with overwhelming momentum. Lin Chen's aura fluctuated. The 40 Saint Points were like billions of galaxies, swallowing the world. He swung his blade and slashed horizontally. Clang! Boom boom boom! The terrifying blade aura soared into the sky. Lin Chen slashed out a snow-white blade aura that was spinning at an extremely fast speed. It was accompanied by the blazing light of a grade 7 weapon. That's all you got? Do you think I'm a trash outside? Zhao Mingyu sneered, the moment before the blade aura collided with the sky wolf. Chi! Boom! There was an explosion as the blade aura exploded. The rapidly spinning blade aura exploded and turned into endless fragments of light that filled the sky. The terrifying blade aura fragments were like a gale or a shower that instantly enveloped the sky wolf. Boom! 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 The blade aura fragments crazily struck the holy light sky wolf and cut it into pieces. This blade aura not only contained Lin Chen's saint power but also his spirit fragments. It actually crushed the sky wolf's halberd head-on. The remaining blade aura fragments instantly twisted toward Zhao Mingyu. This blade technique has some tricks up its sleeve. Zhao Mingyu snorted coldly. He had no choice but to unleash his attack. Rumble! As if the sky suddenly collapsed, a 1,000-acre golden fist smashed down. Clang! 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 All the blade aura fragments were crushed into nothingness by the golden fist and flew toward Lin Chen. The light was dazzling and the fist's momentum was unparalleled. It was as if it represented the endless power of the heavens, and it was going to crush everything. Zhao family's intermediate orange grade technique, Vajra heaven-suppressing fist. This is Zhao Mingyu's true strength. It's too demonic. He just used a secret technique and immediately used an intermediate orange grade technique. The spectating sages outside Dragon City sucked in a breath of cold air. If it were them, they would have died many times over. However, the next moment, Lin Chen, who was under the Vajra heaven-suppressing fist, suddenly slammed his palm toward the sky. Rumble! Flames engulfed the area, and it was earth-shattering. The 100,000-foot-long fire seal burned and burned the sky and the earth. There were actually 9 layers of fire seals stacked together and formed a giant burning palm. It was extremely domineering and shook the heavens. All the mighty figures were shocked. That aura made it seem as if nothing in the world could suppress Lin Chen. It was as if he was telling everyone that if Zhao Mingyu wanted to represent the heavens, then he, Lin Chen, would destroy the heavens. One fist and one palm collided with each other. Chapter 14:18. Inside the Mammoth Plain, when the sky and earth were turned upside down, the aftershocks that erupted revealed the shocked expressions of the monstrous geniuses from the Divine Flame Palace. Because the palm that Lin Chen used was their Divine Flame Palace's 9-layer burning sky palm. They weren't surprised that Lin Chen knew the 9-layer burning sky palm. After all, he was so close to the goddess. What shocked them was that Lin Chen's 9-layer burning sky palm was much stronger than theirs. In fact, the power of his attack was close to that of their senior brothers present today. Inside the Mammoth Plain, the 9-layer burning sky seal pushed forward. Lin Chen's burning sky palm broke Zhao Mingyu's Vajra heaven-suppressing fist head-on. Fire could be metal. Lin Chen dissolved the fist with his element. This peerless mid-orange grade technique finally began to show its shocking power after Lin Chen expanded his acupoints. High-grade techniques were peerless treasures, but it also depended on the cultivation of the user. In comparison, the burning sky palm that Lin Chen used earlier was nothing. Swoosh! Bang bang bang! Zhao Mingyu swung his halberd diagonally and destroyed the remaining power of the 9-layer burning sky palm. A pair of wings grew out of his back. The pair of wings had snow-white feathers fluttering in the wind. They were extraordinary and beautiful. With a slight flap, he entered the void like a bolt of lightning and instantly appeared behind Lin Chen. This pair of wings was another 7th-grade sacred artifact. As if he could predict the future, Lin Chen slashed his saber diagonally behind him. The saber and halberd collided and sparks flew. Holding the saber with both hands, Lin Chen slashed at Zhao Mingyu as fast as he could. The two of them fought in close combat. Neither of them retreated. Zhao Mingyu used his cultivation to unleash continuous attacks. Lin Chen used his spirit awakening to increase his instantaneous attack speed to sense the direction of his attack. Coupled with his strong cultivation base, the two of them fought head-on. The two of them turned into afterimages that flashed across the entire plain. 2 pairs of black wings appeared behind Lin Chen's back. They were as strange as demonic wings. Both the white and black wings were ridiculously fast. The two of them fought from the sky to the ground, not stopping for even a moment. Lin Chen suddenly laughed. "This is your full speed? It seems that it's still not enough." As soon as his voice fell, there was a tearing sound and 2 more pairs of wings appeared on Lin Chen's back. He looked like an 8-winged demon. It was extremely strange. Rumble! With a sonic boom, Lin Chen's speed suddenly exceeded Zhao Mingyu's control. He was actually unable to attack Lin Chen. On the other hand, Lin Chen's attacks were able to surround him. Zhao Mingyu could use the Grade 7 sacred artifact, Snowlight Feather, to unleash the speed of an intermediate orange rank movement technique. However, Lin Chen's 9 wings of the Heavenly Devil was also an intermediate orange rank movement technique. Most importantly, his intermediate orange rank movement technique was strengthened plus 15. If he used it at full speed, most of the nascent Star Realm cultivators would be left in the dust. In the past, using this movement technique would consume a huge amount of sacred power. Lin Chen could only use it at critical moments. However, now that he had expanded his acupoints by 31,513 times, he could completely support the terrifying consumption of sacred power. You want to suppress me with speed? Zhao Mingyu sneered and opened his palm. It turned into a huge flaming fan. Grade 7 Sacred Artifact, Heaven Dazzling Demon Sealing Fan. It's said that this fan can seal heaven and earth with one strike. It's made with the essence of heaven dazzling, 10 kinds of sealing techniques, and 9,000 kinds of sealing materials. It can seal life and death realm cultivators with one strike. The Zhao family even gave this to him. All the powerful figures were astonished. Grade 7 sacred artifacts were not cabbages that could be found anywhere. Only a few of the Grade 7 sects possessed them. There were also very few Grade 8 sacred artifacts. For a young monster to possess 2 Grade 7 sacred artifacts, it could be seen that the Zhao family was almost training him as the next head of the family. The heaven-dazzling demon-sealing fan moved, and a hurricane swept across. Tens of thousands of sealing talismans flashed in the void like 100 dazzling flowers, sealing the space where Lin Chen was. Even Lin Chen's movement technique slowed down a lot. Oh, another good item! Lin Chen inexplicably became even more excited. The slash swept across and slashed toward him. Numerous sealing talismans fell from the sky, illuminating heaven and earth. Rumble! Zhao Mingyu's halberd danced in the sky with his left hand, and the heaven-dazzling demon-sealing fan in his right hand. He was like a primordial sacred spirit. His figure was majestic, and every strike had the power to cover heaven and earth. Lin Chen was suppressed for a moment. His speed was no longer an advantage, but a disadvantage instead. What was even more frightening was that Zhao Mingyu's 2 Grade 7 sacred artifacts switched between attacks smoothly, and they were closely connected and coordinated with each other. This was a significant improvement brought by the spirituality of the Grade 7 sacred artifacts. A Grade 7 sacred artifact's spirituality was beginning to show. It could maximize its support for its owner in battle, and it could release attacks in the most ingenious way during battle without affecting its owner. It was incomparably wonderful. It was as if Zhao Mingyu wasn't using 2 sacred artifacts, but had 2 super experts assisting him in battle. The power of a Grade 7 sacred artifact was fully displayed. Lin Chen's absolute flame saber let out an indignant hum, as if it wanted to fight to the death with the other party. A mere fan is nothing more than this. You're the only one who can give me some wind this summer. Clang! Lin Chen didn't use his saber, and when he put away his absolute flame saber, he clenched his fists, and a crimson battle spear appeared out of nowhere. The body of the spear was crimson red, and it was 9 feet long. Its awe-inspiring righteousness soared into the sky, and it was impervious to all evil. The sharp dragon aura spinning at the tip of the spear was like 2 dancing dragons, piercing through a large number of seals in the void. It was a Grade 7 sacred artifact, the demon-slaying spear. The sacred spear was impervious to all evil, and its sharpness could break through all kinds of barriers and seals. The young man's silver robe fluttered and his black wings spread out. He stood upright with his spear like a demon king. His spear danced, and a spear thrust was like 100 dancing dragons, piercing through all the seals. All the prodigies' mouths twitched. F***CK. You're here too? Lin Chen also has 2 Grade 7 sacred artifacts? Many prodigies on the monster roll were so angry that they almost went crazy. Even if they had extraordinary backgrounds and were geniuses, their sects weren't strong enough to give them a Grade 7 sacred artifact. They couldn't even give them a Grade 7 sacred artifact. Dance of the True Dragon. Heavenly dazzling stars. The 2 of them wielded a spear and a halberd, stabbing and flicking, neutralizing and attacking. The chaotic battle had turned into a dazzling mess. Lin Chen used the sharpness of his spear to break through the seals and attack from behind. The dance of the true dragon was to gain the upper hand after attacking. The longer one resisted, the more powerful it was, and his demon-slaying spear happened to specialize in breaking seals and barriers. The battle returned to its original state. Thousand-soul destruction. Stars flashed continuously, and the heavenly dazzling demon sealing fan swept out, and thousands of holy lights shone. 8-part burning dragon celestial roar. 8 spiritual burning dragons rose above Lin Chen's head, and they roared at the sky, shattering the galaxy. Bam! 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 A gigantic golden fist that shook the heavens smashed down furiously. The giant flaming hand broke through the sky and collided head-on. The entire giant elephant plane was turned upside down by the two of them. Whether it was the people in Dragon City, the various forces in the Three Pristines Palace, the mighty figures, or the reclusive old monsters, they were all dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Lin Chen would be able to rely on his own strength to fight evenly with Zhao Mingyu. He actually did not show any signs of losing. He was ridiculously strong. Most importantly, this kid was still in the acupoint expansion realm. Chapter 14-19. Zhao Mingyu can fight to a draw with a peak expanded aperture cultivator? That's too abnormal. Even if he retreats now, no one will say anything. Yeah, this Lin Chen kid has fully proven himself. Even if he retreats, everyone will be convinced. With his foundation, if he advances to the transformation realm, life and death realm, or even the star realm, how many people in the sacred boundary can stop him? Everyone's eyes were especially solemn. The stronger Lin Chen's current strength was, the more it represented the unimaginable heights he would reach in the future. It had been too long since such a heaven-defying genius had appeared in the human race. Inside the mammoth plane, the two fought fiercely for an hour before they each retreated. At this moment, both Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu were still breathing steadily, not showing the slightest sign of fatigue. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and laughed mockingly. What? You suddenly feel like you can't hold on anymore? I'm not afraid of endurance. If you're not convinced, let's continue. After fighting for so long, don't think you can beat me. You're still thousands of miles away from me. Zhao Mingyu released the shining heaven demon sealing fan, and his hand seals suddenly changed. 9 streams of dragon chi flew out of Zhao Mingyu's body like giant dragons. When they hovered high in the sky, they emitted a brilliant dragon's might, shattering mountains and rivers with a roar. Zhao Mingyu's aura began to soar. Although his saint acupoint did not change, the life and death chi in his saint force approached the peak of life and death realm. His appearance began to change greatly. Horns grew on his head, and scales covered his body. His cold and arrogant appearance became extremely evil, and his pair of green eyes were overflowing with killing intent. Although he seemed to be in a state of chaos, Zhao Mingyu was incomparably calm. All of this originated from the effects of his heart sutra and bloodline. All the 8th grade experts were amazed. Some seemed to recall some terrifying experience, and their facial muscles twitched slightly. Sure enough, he still made a move. Zhao family's 9 dragons art is still so domineering. This heart sutra can only be fully used by those above the star realm. Although Zhao Mingyu's cultivation base is only at the life and death realm, his aura is not inferior to many of Zhao family's veteran star realm experts. When the entire Zhao family saw Zhao Mingyu use this art, their expressions became much calmer. Once the 9 dragons art is used, this Lin Chen will definitely lose. The Zhao family's 9 dragons art was famous even in the Heavenly Saint region, not to mention the various rank 8 families and sects. This heart mantra was obtained by the Zhao family's ancestor through a heaven-defying opportunity in a desolate ancient ruin. For this heart mantra, that ancestor even paid with half his life. In the entire Zhao clan, The number of people who could cultivate this mental cultivation method could be counted on one's fingers. Lin Chen was surprised. Oh? This mental cultivation method is not on the same level as the opponents I've seen before. This was a mid-orange tier mental cultivation technique. Intermediate orange level combat skills were extremely rare. Not many people owned them on the genius ranking, let alone intermediate orange level mental cultivation technique. Grade 8 forces would have at least one or two types of intermediate orange rank combat skills, which were considered as the ultimate cultivation method of the sect. However, not every grade 8 sect had a complete intermediate orange level mental cultivation technique. This sacred item was close to the peak of the sacred boundary. In terms of the techniques that had appeared in the history of the sacred boundary, there were only a few advanced orange-level martial arts that had existed since ancient times. Under the premise that those extremely rare forces did not appear, intermediate orange-level mental cultivation techniques could be considered the peak of the sacred boundary. As for advanced orange-level martial arts, they completely existed in the legends. At least, in the history of the Grade 8 forces, there were no records of any advanced orange-level martial art. As for the 9 Dragons art, it could refine 9 types of dragon chi and absorb them into one's sacred meridian, causing one's sacred power to increase tremendously. It could even be cultivated to perfection. The human race could use the dragon race's mystical abilities. It was a heaven-defying mental cultivation technique that transcended races. This was also one of the reasons why the Yi family chose to have a marriage alliance with the Zhao family. This intermediate orange-level mental cultivation technique was the foundation of the Zhao family. Lin Chen, do you see the difference between us now? This is a realm that you will never surpass in your lifetime. Zhao Mingyu laughed evilly. His evil aura surged as he slammed his palm toward Lin Chen. Rip! Kaboom! The dragon chi dissipated, and the dragons danced wildly. The unskillful slap emitted a destructive wave that could destroy the world. Lin Chen instantly activated his body movement technique. 4 pairs of black wings spread out, and he instantly retreated. Rip! Bang! The slap hit nothing, but the entire giant elephant realm was shattered. The ley lines began to crack, completely unable to withstand the power of this attack. So powerful! With Zhao Mingyu's current state, I'm afraid that middle stage Na Xing, no, even late stage Na Xing might not be able to stop him. If this kid Lin Chen doesn't have a trump card, he's probably going to lose. The Grade 8 powerhouses saw through the situation at a glance. They were not optimistic. The following battle would not last for long. Inside the giant elephant realm, luckily, my 9 heavenly demon wings are plus 15 strengthened. Lin Chen smiled casually. At this moment, the talismans that filled the sky shone with dazzling starlight. When they drifted down, it was like a gust of wind, enveloping Lin Chen. The space where Lin Chen was sealed. Ha ha ha, I'd like to see how you're going to retreat this time. When Zhao Mingyu's dazzling heaven-sealing magic fan delayed Lin Chen's movements, he laughed grimly. The halberd in his hand slashed down, and a heavenly wolf appeared again and pounced. However, the heavenly wolf kill this time was more than 3 times stronger than before. Lin Chen's spear pierced through the dazzling heaven-sealing magic fan seal, but he could not defend against Zhao Mingyu's second move. Clang! Saber energy soared into the sky. Lin Chen swapped his spear for a saber. With Juyin in hand, his domineering aura soared. When the corners of his mouth curled up, it tugged at everyone's heartstrings. From now on, it's time to show off my skills. Boom! As Lin Chen laughed, he held his saber and slashed diagonally. The blade split open an extremely beautiful saber energy. Its sharpness divided heaven and earth, spinning rapidly and slashing toward Zhao Mingyu. Is it this strange saber technique again? Before Zhao Mingyu could finish speaking, the saber energy trembled and split into 5. What? At this moment, all the mighty figures in Zhao Mingyu felt their scalps go numb. Chi. Bang. 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 When the 5 rapidly spinning saber energy exploded, the saber energy fragments exploded and filled the sky. In an instant, they twisted together and shattered Zhao Mingyu's heavenly wolf. What kind of technique is this? Zhao Mingyu was shocked and bewildered. Dividing a battle technique into 5 moves at the same time, and its power did not decrease? How could there be such a strange ability in the world? Boom! When the heavenly wolf exploded, another wave rose before the first wave had even subsided. The entire mammoth plain was filled with howling gales that fluttered in the wind. Large snowflakes floated down like goose feathers. In the heavy snow, cold air rose everywhere, and frost was like a tide. Lin Chen strolled in the air. Under the heavy snow, he slowly walked over with his sword. His sword was 4 feet and 7 inches long, and the blade was as white as jade. Frost swirled around the tip of the sword, and the blade shone like an unpolished jade. Hidden in the bone-chilling cold of the sword was a sharpness that could pierce through heaven and earth. In the heavy snow, the elegant young man walked over with his sword. His hair and robes fluttered, and his aura was otherworldly. He was like a proud and unyielding sword sage of a generation. He had the handsomeness of a young man and the sharpness of a sword sage. Many female sky prides on the monster rankings were dumbfounded by this scene. Chapter 1420. All the mighty figures' mouths twitched. Another 7th-grade weapon, and it was a 7th-grade sacred sword. How many 7th-grade sacred weapons did this kid have? However, the pupils of the mighty figures from the sword domain suddenly trembled. They felt a familiar feeling from Lin Chen's intent realm. 7th-grade sacred sword, heaven-freezing sword. It came from the hands of forger Jin Wuxia and 6-fingered Xian Yuan. The moment Lin Chen wielded the frozen sky sword, he changed the climate of the entire mammoth plain. The starlight from the 9 heavens formed a seal, and the mammoth plain gathered the power of the stars and condensed it on Lin Chen's sword. Lin Chen brandished his sword and rushed forward. Activating his movement technique, he charged into the sky. Lin Chen, I think you've lost your mind. You want to fight me with your acupoint augmenting realm cultivation? I, Zhao Mingyu, will accompany you to the end. Zhao Mingyu was furious. He attacked with his halberd and the heaven-shining demon sealing fan. Layers of seals appeared on top of his head, trying to seal Lin Chen. However, Lin Chen was like a straight sword, stabbing at Zhao Mingyu. His heaven-freezing sword became more and more powerful, like a star that had died hundreds of millions of years ago, emitting its last bright light. 9 dragons sky dance. Zhao Mingyu danced, creating layers of afterimages. He stabbed with his halberd and used a mid-orange level combat skill, which was even more powerful. The afterimages turned into roaring true dragons, each of them emitting an aura that terrified late-stage, star realm cultivators. When the heaven-freezing sword was at its brightest, Lin Chen swung his sword at lightning speed and slashed. Instant light split shadow. Buzz. Heaven and earth trembled. A ray of starlight shot out like a crescent moon, becoming the most dazzling light in the world, tearing apart all the heaven-shining seals. In the 3 Pristine's palace, all the mighty figures and hidden experts from Sword Realm stood up. Look at this sword. This sword. It's definitely billions of starlight. It's perfect. This sword is flawless, without any flaws. This is the true realm of perfection. The sword saints were shouting crazily. It was as if he was intoxicated, as if he was crazy. They were crazy about the sword Dao, and this strike had surpassed the limits of any heavenly sword Dao that they had seen before. It had surpassed the limits of the sword technique itself. However, in the next moment, an even more shocking scene appeared. Boom! Swish! Swish! The starlight sword aura was like a flowing river of stars. When it trembled slightly, it actually split into 5. The sword cut through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and the 5 streaks of starlight disappeared in an instant, cutting down all the true dragons. Bang! 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 The aftershocks of the sword lights bombarded Zhao Mingyu's body. While he urged his movement technique to retreat, he also waved his halberd to block the aftershocks of the sword lights. However, his defense was still broken through by the starlight. At the critical moment, he used the snowlight feather and the shining heaven demon sealing fan to protect him. The starlight pierced through the 2 7th-grade divine artifacts, causing them to lose their spirituality. Their radiance dimmed, and they were close to being scrapped. A large number of elemental light balls were scattered. Outside Dragon City, everyone was dumbfounded. It was a one-sided battle. The confrontation this time, Lin Chen actually overpowered Zhao Mingyu head-on with one move. Billions of starlight. This intermediate orange-grade sword technique from the sword realm had left an unprecedented mark in the history of the Heavenly Stairway competition. Lin Chen's enhancement function had increased the power of billions of starlight by more than 4 times. He also had the passive effect of the Supreme God Possession talent, which increased the power by 300%. His billions of starlight sword aura had not only reached perfection, but it had also increased the power by 7 times. Moreover, this was under the premise that the instant light split shadow was not included. Even if the Zhao family's 9 dragons art was powerful enough to transcend races and fuse with dragon blood, it was still no match for Lin Chen's terrifying multiple enhancements. In the 3 Pristine's palace, Uxnr, who was sitting in the front row, opened her mouth slightly. Was this Prince Lin Chen's true strength? How terrifying! Apart from the top 2,000 on the Heavenly Genius ranking, there were not many monsters here who could be compared to him. The Zhao family and the others were burning with anxiety. How did this kid still have so many tricks up his sleeve? Could it be that the Zhao family would be defeated today? Patriarch Zhao's deep eyes seemed to be able to see through everything and see the other side of the void. Mingyu, you have no reason to lose this battle. In the giant elephant realm, seeing the attribute light balls scattered all over the sky, Lin Chen was not in a hurry to collect them. Instead, he retreated a short distance. He could sense with his mind that after Zhao Mingyu was injured, his aura had increased instead of decreasing. Lin Chen, you forced me to do this. No one can save you today. Zhao Mingyu roared fiercely. His flesh and blood were torn open, but they were constantly healing as his saint power flowed. A 9-colored dragon aura began to surround Zhao Mingyu and wander into every inch of his flesh and blood. In the 3 Pristine's palace, the expressions of many rank 8 almighties were particularly solemn. Things had gone beyond their expectations. If this continued, they would be in big trouble. Isn't that the 9 Tribulations dragon aura that the Zhao family specially refined? Damn it, the 9 Tribulations dragon aura is exclusive to the patriarch of the Zhao family. If that bastard Zhao Yingguang uses this thing, even I might not be able to defeat him. He actually let his son use it. Does he have any shame? I suggest that we stop this battle and rearrange the allocation. Isn't this against the rules? The various almighties questioned Zui Laoweng and the others who were in charge. Zui Laoweng stroked his beard and frowned, saying seriously, "Strictly speaking, the 9 Tribulations dragon aura is one of the methods of the contestant. It's not considered an external force that violates the rules." As soon as he said that, the corners of many almighties' mouths twitched slightly. Then what was the point of fighting? The 9 Tribulations dragon aura was the dragon aura that condensed the light of life of 9 supreme primordial dragons when they were on the verge of death. It was the dragon aura at its strongest and most flourishing. It was so precious that it could be described as priceless. Not only did it require manpower and a lot of material resources, but it also required timing. Normally, it was impossible to buy this item at all. When the person who cultivated the 9 dragons' arts refined this item, whether it was his strength or cultivation, it would skyrocket. With the help of the dragon aura, his mental cultivation method would transform to an extremely strong level. In front of this kind of overwhelming power, this battle was at a fatal disadvantage to Lin Chen. But at the same time, there were also many experts and reclusive old monsters who cast their gazes in the direction of Patriarch Zhao. He did not move at all, and had no intention of taking it back. Zhao Yinguang, this guy, is a profiteer who doesn't get up early without benefit. He dared to use this item on his son. Something's not right. This is not a simple marriage. The benefits involved are even enough to make Zhao Yinguang use this thing. Some almighties looked at the little demon empress and the Yi family. Their eyes flickered, and everyone was guessing and thinking. Even Madame Yi Lixue of the Yi family revealed some surprise in her cold and elegant prophecy. She did not expect the Zhao family to fight to this extent. Senior Zui Lao, I don't agree to this. This item is unfair, and it's not fair to Lin Chen at all. Elder Wanhua couldn't bear it anymore. He stood up and sent a sound transmission to the direction of the Three Pristines Palace. You stubborn old men, can you not blindly operate with your eyes open? At this time, the three elders of the Sword region also spoke. Chapter 14:21. It's one thing to use elixir techniques, but isn't this against the rules? What are the rules of the stairway tournament? If you don't stop, then stop fighting. I'll go in and fight Zhao Mingyu. This is bullying Lin Chen too much. When I was young, I only called for people of the same realm to fight. What is this Zhao family doing? Bullying? The big shots of the sword realm stood up and glared at him. The trillion starlight that Lin Chen displayed just now could be said to have won the admiration of the big shots and seniors of the various sword regions. Now that something had happened, they were all on Lin Chen's side. In all fairness, the 9 Tribulations Dragon Chi was too much. Sword Realm wants to force us to retreat? A bald old man who was hosting the stairway tournament laughed sinisterly, revealing his killing intent. F***ck your mother, what are you pretending to be, old baldy? You were just lucky to break through to the heaven-opening realm last time. What are you so arrogant about? Your eyes are as big as a cow's egg. I can't beat you in a one-on-one fight, and I can't beat you in a group fight? Stop the battle quickly. The Sword Realm's sword saints were extremely hot-tempered. They did not give him any face at all. They rolled up their sleeves and carried their scabbards, looking indifferent to life and death. The bald old man glared at them. Come on, do you think I'm afraid? Come on, let me see how strong you are after breaking through to the heaven-opening realm. Before you broke through, you were nothing in front of my brothers. You're so arrogant. Come on, do you think the people of the Sword Realm are afraid of you? I'll kill you in one move. What's there to say? There are 17 of us. Can you kill me in one move? Can you kill us in one move? If you kill us in one move, I'll kowtow and apologize to you on the spot. The Three Pristines Palace was in chaos. When the geniuses who had been eliminated or had not participated in the battle saw this scene, they all looked as if they had seen a ghost and frantically retreated. When these veteran powerhouses fought, the 9 lives of the younger generation would not be enough. Many 8th-grade mighty figures blushed with shame. What method did this Lin Chen use to make the mighty figures of the sword domain support him like this? If this continued, both the young and the old would start fighting. Who in the 36 domains didn't know about the sword realm? No, don't be in such a hurry to quarrel. Maybe we don't need to stop the fight. Look at that kid. At this moment, Zui Lao Weng exclaimed. When everyone looked at the light screen in the Three Pristines Palace, the corners of their mouths twitched in the mammoth plain. Zhao Mingyu, who had refined the 9 Tribulations Dragon Chi, was like a remnant beast of the great wilderness. 9-colored dragon chi coiled above his head, and his aura covered the heavens and the earth. He was so powerful that he was like a peerless dragon that had come into being. In front of Zhao Mingyu, Lin Chen was as tiny as a baby in front of a strong adult. However, Lin Chen's reaction was extremely strange. He didn't show any fear, nor did he show any serious or frightened emotions. Instead, he opened his mouth wide and formed an O shape. Even drool was falling from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with ecstasy and excitement. He wiped the sparkling drool from the corner of his mouth, and even swallowed his saliva. The corners of his mouth curled up crazily as he swallowed his saliva crazily, making everyone's scalp tingle. F***ck. What is this kid trying to do this time? He doesn't look like he can't beat him at all. He's obviously looking like he wants to cause trouble. That expression was extremely similar to a 1,000-year-old pervert who had discovered a naked jade person. It was like an old bachelor who had been thirsty for 10,000 years had seen a bridal chamber. Many demonic female prodigies trembled. The feelings of admiration that had just arisen in them immediately vanished into thin air. This Lin Chen was downright handsome when he was handsome. However, when he was flirtatious, he was deranged. Just looking at his eyes gave one goosebumps all over. Crazy. This kid must be crazy. Oh no, Zhao Mingyu is moving. All the mighty figures exclaimed in shock. In the Mammoth Plain, Zhao Mingyu had broken through to 57 holy points at this time. The 9 dragons' arts had climbed to the extreme, causing his holy power to far surpass the ordinary perfect life and death realm. Zhao Mingyu was surrounded by 9-colored dragon aura. He casually struck out with his palm, and it was like 9 dragon claws sweeping over. Lin Chen's shoulders shook. He activated the odd crystals and raised his hand to strike. The 9-layer burning sky palm erupted again and struck Zhao Mingyu head-on. Boom! The 9-layer burning sky palm split into 5, causing the divine flame palace monster to be fuming with anger. Could this kid also split this move into 5 moves? Chi! Boom! 1 palm and 1 claw, shattering everything in the Mammoth Plain. With the power of Lin Chen's instant light split shadows talent, it was enough to shake most perfect star realms. However, there was still a gap when facing Zhao Mingyu, who had absorbed the 9 Calamity Dragon aura. The 9-layer burning sky palm exploded into flames. Lin Chen held his sword and slashed horizontally. Billions of starlight slashed over and finally shattered the 9 dragon claw. Chi! Boom! Zhao Mingyu attacked with his halberd. At this speed, there was no way to react. Snap! When the crisp snap of fingers reverberated, Zhao Mingyu suddenly revealed a painful and ferocious expression when his halberd was in mid-air. This caused his attack rhythm to slow down for a moment. Lin Chen retreated rapidly and slashed out with the sky-freezing sword, drawing out a long sword light to strangle Zhao Mingyu. Clang clang clang! When Zhao Mingyu blocked all of Lin Chen's attacks, he said fiercely, "What did you do, kid? Why are my saint acupoints and blood uncontrollable?" Lin Chen, who had retreated to the side, smiled casually. "So, why are you so obedient? Do you really think I used all my strength just now?" When Lin Chen smiled evilly, Zhao Mingyu's pupils suddenly constricted. His lower abdomen suddenly split open with blood splattering everywhere. What was even more terrifying was that this wound continued to expand, and saint blood kept flowing out. What was going on? This move of Lin Chen's made everyone dumbfounded. Opening his palm, a 9-colored starlight condensed in Lin Chen's palm and spun into a wheel, finally becoming a star that floated in the air. Host has activated the Super Chaotic Talent 12 times, activating the Destructive Talent for 5 million high-grade talent points consumed. Holding the 9-colored star in his hand, Lin Chen smiled faintly, looking very flirtatious. "Zhao Mingyu, I give you 250 points for this sparring partner of yours." Lin Chen's words caused a huge commotion, and the powerful people in the 3 Pristine's palace opened their mouths slightly. Sparring partner? Could it be? Could it be that this kid treated Zhao Mingyu as a sparring partner to advance to the Expanse Cavern realm? Could it be that he had not used his true trump card from the beginning to the end? That's right, it was a sparring partner. In the battle just now, Lin Chen's other trump cards and trump cards were completely useless. He was completely relying on his pure cultivation to fight with him. It was very simple. Zhao Mingyu was very suitable to be his sparring partner. After breaking through to the perfect aperture enlargement stage in one go, Lin Chen's cultivation was no longer as weak as before, and he was able to fully utilize his strength. However, he was still unable to perfectly control his strength as he had previously. For example, under the same power, a rock could be broken by a fist. But if one could control his own power accurately enough, he could break the rock with just a finger. Lin Chen was exactly like this. He needed a sharpening stone to gradually reveal his sharpness. And Zhao Mingyu was this sharpening stone that could sharpen his power even more. Now, his sparring partner task was completed. Chapter 1422. Lin Chen's killer move was starting to reveal itself. Lin Chen waved his hand, and the 9-colored starlight transformed into a stream of colorful light. It was as beautiful as a shooting star, and in a flash, it split into 5. It was the first 9 tribulations star after acupoint expansion. Zhao Mingyu's pupils trembled. That gorgeous 9 tribulations star actually made him feel the threat of death. If he was in his normal state, he wouldn't be afraid. But now that he had Lin Chen's super chaos and extinction split creation inherent skills, especially after the upgrade of extinction split creation, it was simply terrifying. Not only would his injuries not heal, but they would also worsen as time passed. It was simply a weapon to kill saints. The shining demon ceiling fan protected its owner again, fanning out countless talismans to slow down the 9-colored starlight. Zhao Mingyu gritted his teeth, and all the saint acupoints in his body exploded. He forcefully broke out of the influence of super chaos and waved his halberd repeatedly. His fists were like dragons. 9 dragons sky dance art. Golden Dipper heaven suppressing fist. Rumble. The 9-colored starlight bloomed and turned into a 9-colored light pillar that slowly rotated. 5 9-colored light pillars pierced through the sky and devoured all the dragon shadow. The giant elephant plane was completely split into 2 by the 9-colored starlight. In the 3 Pristine's palace, many Saint Heart and Soul Star experts were solemn. This killer move was too terrifying. Even Saint Heart experts could smell danger. Who would have thought that this was a killer move that a perfected acupoint expansion expert could unleash? Inside the giant elephant plane, Zhao Mingyu's shining demon ceiling fan was devoured into nothingness by the rotating starlight. A 7th-grade saint artifact was destroyed just like that. Many rank 7 sects were shocked to see this. The snowlight feather behind Zhao Mingyu covered him all the way until its spiritual light dimmed. Only then did Zhao Mingyu barely manage to escape from the range of the 9 tribulations star. Zhao Mingyu spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale, and there were many wounds on his shoulders, chest, and body. Almost everyone could see that the outcome of the battle had been decided. However, what horrified the Saint Heart experts was that Zhao Mingyu's injuries hadn't healed. It should be known that as long as saints above life and death realm still had saint energy, their recovery speed would be extremely efficient and fast. However, not only did Zhao Mingyu's injuries not recover, they were even worsening and becoming more serious. That's very terrifying. This strange ability of Lin Chen's was equivalent to completely restraining all saints below the Saint Heart realm. This guy, how deep is he hiding? If Zhao Mingyu had used such a trump card earlier, he would have retreated a long time ago. Why did he keep it until now? The few mighty figures looked at each other in fear. Inside the 3 Pristine's palace, the Zhao family master clenched his fist. His calm demeanor concealed a monstrous fury. Everyone knew that the situation was hopeless. Zhao Mingyu coughed up blood and was about to speak. "I vote, Rumble?" An ash-white talisman that blotted out the sky and covered the earth came into being. It began to explode, and Zhao Mingyu couldn't even open his mouth to speak. Roar! A dragon's roar shook heaven and earth, and an ancient sky-raising Saint Dragon appeared. The Saint Dragon's breath filled the giant elephant plain, forming an extreme hell heavenly prison that restrained Zhao Mingyu's 7th grade saint artifact, Snowlight Feather, and halberd. Rip! Lin Chen urged his movement technique and rushed over, throwing a punch at Zhao Mingyu. Rumble! Zhao Mingyu was hit by Lin Chen's punch. This time, he didn't cough up blood, but a large amount of dragon aura. The 9 Tribulations dragon aura in his body and in his saint cave was actually beaten out by Lin Chen? Then, Lin Chen's saint dragon quickly exhaled and absorbed all the 9 Tribulations dragon aura, forming a vortex that entered the dragon's body. Once the 9 Tribulations dragon aura entered the saint dragon's body, the dragon meridians instantly opened. It broke through the 900 billion dragon meridians mark, and its pure strength broke through 9 trillion dragon power. However, the speed of increase was still increasing, and it entered the 15 trillion and 20 trillion dragon power mark. It was faster than any of the Saint Dragon's breakthroughs in the past. Zhao Mingyu's arrogant and insufferably arrogant eyes finally revealed a bit of fear. That's right, Lin Chen's target was Zhao Mingyu's 9 Tribulations dragon aura. At first, he just wanted to use him as a sparring partner, but the 9 Tribulations dragon aura was a surprise. The purest dragon aura of the 9 primordial dragons before they died was a great supplement for any dragon. Otherwise, why would it be called a priceless treasure that could only be found by chance? This time, his Saint Dragon's strength had increased greatly. In the 3 Pure Palace, the mighty figures who sensed Lin Chen's intentions finally showed different expressions. It was extremely exciting. The Zhao family members were furious, and the Zhao family patriarch instantly tore through the void, wanting to force his way into the battle space. Rumble! A sword roared like a dragon, and 2 peerless sword sages of the sword realm cut off his movements and blocked his way. What are you doing? Are you trying to violate the rules? Your son hasn't even shouted his surrender yet. Why are you so anxious? You didn't say anything when you used the 9 Tribulations dragon aura just now, and now that you're at a disadvantage, you're playing tricks? Do you think we don't exist? The few big shots of the sword realm sneered. The Zhao family patriarch's expression was cold, and just as he was about to force his way in, rumble! A dragon's aura broke through the 9 heavens, and it could be clearly felt from the mammoth plain. Lin Chen's Saint Dragon had broken through 5 trillion dragon veins, and the Saint Dragon had broken through 50 trillion dragon power. Ha ha ha, thank you Zhao family for sending me a golden sparring partner. I, Lin Chen, will give you a 5-star rating. Lin Chen laughed. When he released Zhao Mingyu, his eyes were dazed, and he was in a daze. Although losing the 9 Tribulations dragon aura did not affect his cultivation, he was still a step away from becoming the Zhao family patriarch. It was not perfect. Most importantly, it would be difficult for his cultivation technique to reach perfection. Received 6 intermediate strengthening points, 12 intermediate strengthening points, 500,000 top-tier spiritual power, 3,000 top-tier rune energy, 450,000 set essence, 900,000 set essence. Lin Chen crazily collected attribute light balls. This time, he destroyed one of Zhao Mingyu's 7th grade sacred artifacts, and the other 2 7th grade sacred artifacts were damaged in different ways. The set essence was simply off the charts, far surpassing any of Lin Chen's previous attempts. The winner of this match is Lin Chen. At this time, the referee announced the result and asked Zhao Mingyu to protect himself. When the result was announced, the Yi family's people were doubting their lives. The Zhao family's people were fuming with anger. Toying with them. Truly toying with them. From the beginning to the end, their Zhao family had been tricked by this kid, and they were thoroughly tricked. Lin Chen, this kid, completely had enough strength to kill Zhao Mingyu and win the competition head-on. But this kid treated Zhao Mingyu as a sparring partner? In other words, Zhao Mingyu had been fighting for so long, and it was all a sparring partner. What was even more infuriating was that their 9 Tribulations dragon aura had been snatched away. Just now, the Sword Domain's people were still fighting for Lin Chen, feeling that it was unfair for Zhao Mingyu to use the 9 Tribulations dragon aura. They even felt that he was bullying Lin Chen. Now that they looked at it, who the hell was bullying who? It was clearly Zhao Mingyu who was bullied miserably. Chapter 1423. Lin Chen won. Too freakish, I never thought that this would be the result. Especially when the Zhao family's 9 Tribulation Dragon energy appeared, I even thought that Lin Chen was dead for sure. He won with ease and calmness. How many more tricks does he have up his sleeve? It's impossible for him to have this ability after expanding his acupoints by 30,000 times. He's too awesome. I can't even imagine what he looks like when he uses all his strength. Dragon City was filled with shock and exclamations. It was as if an earthquake had occurred. Lin Chen, who most people didn't think highly of, not only turned the situation around and won easily and beautifully. The super monster Zhao Mingyu was reduced to a sparring partner. It wasn't that Mingyu couldn't get hard, it was that Lin Chen was too strong. While the people of Class 66 were cheering, the women finally let out a sigh of relief. This bastard really was full of twists and turns. Even though they believed that Lin Chen would win, who didn't want him to suffer less injuries? Inside 3 Purities Palace. When Lin Chen returned to 3 Purities Palace, he faced the various forces and the various monstrous geniuses' complicated and interesting gazes. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. This time, he had included everyone in his trap. Everyone. When Lin Chen opened his mouth, the noisy 3 Purities Palace immediately quieted down. He grinned like a child. If you have such a gold medal sparring partner in the future, remember to call me. Silence. Everyone. Can you be a human? A super monster on the monstrous genius ranking was used as a sparring partner? He was insane. If looks could kill, Patriarch Zhao's would have killed Lin Chen 108,000 times over. The little demon empress couldn't hold back her laughter. She was so charming that she trembled. Uxiner couldn't help but roll her eyes. Since ancient times, only he, Lin Fan, could say something like this. Lin Chen turned to look at the Yi family and smiled. Auntie Yi, I wonder if the Yi family's promise still stands? Yi Lishue's eyes flashed. After a while, she said indifferently, Of course it does. After today, I will no longer use the Yi family's name to force Qingwu, nor will I take half a step into Purple Cloud King Valley. The Violet Cloud King Valley's people were ecstatic. I'm finally free. Yi Qingwu had returned home. Lin Chen stared at the beautiful woman's jade face and suddenly laughed. All right, thank you, Andy. Perhaps if the Yi family has any difficulties in the future, I will be able to help. Lin Chen and Yi Lishua looked straight at each other. After a while, Yi Lishua looked at her daughter. Yi Lishua's beautiful lips parted slightly, and she seemed to be sending a sound transmission to the little demon empress. Her expression changed slightly and she lowered her head. No one knew what she was thinking. Lin Chen knew that he had to express his position. But at the same time, he had a faint intuition that Yi Lishua didn't seem to have no feelings for the little fairy. It was just that there was something she couldn't say. Just as Lin Chen was about to return to his seat, Zhao Mingyu was carried out by the referee. His injuries were serious, and the Zhao clan could not be bothered to bicker with the Yi clan. They flicked their sleeves and left the stage to treat Zhao Mingyu. What a little monster! I originally thought that the one being carried out would be Lin Chen. I didn't expect it to be the complete opposite. Zui Laoweng shook his head and laughed. But then, another wave came. 2 figures appeared in front of Lin Chen. These 2 people had their hands crossed in front of their chests. They had dignified appearances and handsome faces. Their handsome and arrogant appearance made even Lin Chen click his tongue in wonder. He almost subconsciously said, "Since you're so handsome, let's take a dump together when we're free." Lin Chen, right? One of them spoke with an extremely arrogant attitude. His eyes looked like he was looking at a country bumpkin. Don't think that just because your acupoint expansion multiplier is high, you can dream of touching the goddess of my divine flame palace. Let me give you a word of advice. The sacred boundary is very big. Don't think that you can look down on everything just because you have potential. Before your potential can be used in battle, you are just a piece of meat waiting to be slaughtered. Only with the support of power and sex is the way of the king. Without enough support, you won't even be able to make a single ripple in the saint's world. Lin Chen frowned. The strength of these two people was perhaps only a little bit weaker than Zhao Mingyu. The other person patted his shoulder and sneered. That's why a wild brat like you with no background should remember to stay away from our divine flame palace. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Lin Chen suddenly laughed. What? You want to mock me because I don't have any power? What you said makes a bit of sense. Lin Chen didn't deny it. What they said was the truth. Every world was like this. When one was close to the top of the pyramid, the strength of an individual was very insignificant compared to the strength of a group. Unless one's strength was beyond the limit, it was extremely difficult to rely on one person to shake a giant sect. For example, Lin Chen. Although his acupoint expansion multiplier was heaven-defying and he had a lot of trump cards, if he wanted to shake an 8th rank power, even the weakest one, it would still be very difficult. He might be able to escape, but in a head-on confrontation, the possibility was infinitely close to zero. If the opponent waved his arm and a large number of Star-Receiving Realm and Sacred Heart Realm experts attacked together, Lin Chen wouldn't be able to create a miracle unless he could reproduce the battle strength he had in the Sacred Prison, and the attributes of the Heaven-Defying set and the Aries set were sufficient. This was due to the difference in absolute strength. Saints who could reach the Sacred Heart Realm were at the very least ranked in the middle of the Demon Genius list. None of them were weak. Therefore, these two people were not baseless. However, Lin Chen changed the topic and smiled like a rose. How do you know that I'm alone? If you have time to come here and brag, why don't you go back and think about how to fight the next round? When I force your divine flame palace, you will know who's the boss. The two raised their eyebrows. Interesting. Let's see who will be lying on the ground. We'll wait for you at the Divine Flame Palace. How will you die? The two sneered and left. Lin Ping'an, who had fallen asleep in his seat, yawned and stretched lazily. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and asked while rubbing them with his small hand. Lin Chen, what did those two people say just now? Why did they leave again? Lin Chen touched Nizi's head and smiled casually. Nothing. They said that I'm too handsome, so handsome that they feel ashamed and embarrassed to stand with me. Yu Xin, who was standing not far behind Lin Chen, was amused and angry when she heard this. How could this person be so thick-skinned to say such words? Lin Ping'an nodded and said thoughtfully, "Oh, then their eyes must be very bad. I'm hungry. I want something." After Lin Chen's earth-shattering battle, although the third round of the Demon Genius list was also exciting, it wasn't as exciting as the battle between Lin Chen and Zhao Mingyu. If one won the first 2 rounds and lost the third round, there would be a semi-final round in the fourth round. Because there were 500 people who could enter the 9-clan battlefield, there wouldn't be 500 people with 4 consecutive wins. Therefore, those who won the first round would still have a chance, and those who won and lost would continue to advance to the first tier. Then, it would be the final round of the ranking competition. Whoosh! The glazed list rolled, and Lin Chen's name appeared on the first row. It immediately attracted the attention of many forces. Lin Chen against Shangguan Ci from the Divine Flame Palace. At this moment, the whole place was boiling. Chapter 1424. Divine Flame Palace's Shangguan was also a candidate for the championship. Moreover, he was a super monster who was even stronger than Zhao Mingyu. Originally, before Lin Chen caused a ruckus in the Yi clan, the biggest highlight was Zhao Mingyu and Shangguan. But now, Lin Chen had encountered both of them. Shangguan had expanded his acupoints 1,980 times and condensed his acupoints 260 times. Moreover, he was at the late stage of life and death realm and had opened 58 saint acupoints. On the surface, Shangguan was obviously stronger than Zhao Mingyu. All the grade 8 forces looked at both sides with great interest. Divine Flame Palace's side was calm and composed, as if they thought that Shangguan would definitely win. Shangguan wore an embroidered blue robe, had a sharp gaze, and held a jug of wine in his hand. He was like an elegant young master that didn't care about the mortal world, and he was extremely handsome and elegant. The space between his brows carried a trace of arrogance that was difficult to conceal, and it was even to the extent that he disdained to spare a glance at Lin Chen. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. What a peerless monster from Divine Flame Palace! However, Shangguan's powerful aura was broken by Lin Chen with just one sentence. "Oh? Another gold-ranked sparring partner. Great, I like it." The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Too ruthless. This kid didn't give him any face at all. Sparring partner? Did you make a mistake? When Shangguan stood up, he looked down at Lin Chen. "There's no need for the senior brothers in the palace to make a move on someone like you. I'll cripple you in today's heavenly ranking competition." Shangguan flicked his fingernails arrogantly. Lin Chen suddenly said, "Well, did you bring enough saint artifacts? I don't have any hobbies. I just like to destroy other people's saint artifacts, especially those above grade 7. If you didn't bring enough, I won't recognize you as a sparring partner and give you a bad review." Shangguan's facial muscles twitched a few times. Everyone was speechless. This kid really didn't give him any face at all, hee. I hope you can still be so stubborn when the time comes. Shangguan flicked his sleeves and sneered. He sat cross-legged in the air and closed his eyes to rest. The final round of the fourth round was usually held at the end. The first round was the semi-finals of the third round. Lin Chen was calm and unhurried. He turned on the system. Heavenly Dao Possession System version 7.0 Host. Lin Chen. Cultivation. Perfection of the Fourth Heaven True Saint Realm. Peak Essence. 38. 7 billion points. Maximum Strength. 1,780 billion Dragon Power. Flesh Shell Awakening plus 300%. Maximum HP. 300 million top-level mental energy. 28. 9 million points. Paramount Saint Rudiment Stage. Top-grade cultivation technique Soul Essence. 4. 32 million points. Top-grade Rune Energy. 3. 45 million points. High-grade Heavenly Dao points. 90,000 points. Advanced Talent points. 1 billion. Set Essence. 466 million middle strengthening points, 9,230 points, odd crystals refined, 41 pieces. Peak elemental energy, 15,877 points for fire, 15,897 points for earth, 15,978 points for wood, 15,978 points for metal, 15,978 points for water, 15,793 points for lightning, 15,991 points for wind, 15,549 points for light, 15,049 points for dark, 14,990 points for black. Set column. Gold Aries set, equipped parts. Ultimate right vambrace, ultimate left vambrace, ultimate left greave, ultimate right greave. Talent column. Bloodline status column, cultivation technique status column, life awakening column, killing technique column, special rune column, talent combination technique, Lin Chen ordered. System: I want to use all the set essences to charge the 4-piece War God set, consuming 466 million set essences, beginning charging. Ultimate arm armor charging, 21%, 22%. Ultimate leg armor charging, 23%, 22%. All of them were over 20% charged. Lin Chen didn't even dare to think about this ratio before. This was all thanks to Zhao Mingyu's 7th grade sacred artifact. I really have to give this gold medal sparring partner full marks. Lin Chen sighed in his heart. 9 Calamity Dragon Chi and a 7th grade sacred artifact. This sparring partner is really good. If Zhao Mingyu knew what he was thinking, he would probably sit up in shock and get angrier the more he thought about it. Every time Lin Chen destroyed a 7th grade sacred artifact, the set essences he obtained would be in the hundreds of millions. It was very difficult to force a 7th grade sacred artifact to recognize an owner. Unless the previous owner took the initiative to pass it on or remove the ownership relationship, there were very few ways to snatch a 7th grade sacred artifact by force. Therefore, Lin Chen's choice was to fight head-on. He wanted to destroy or crack the sacred artifact as much as possible so that it would drop more set essences. With the 4-piece War God set, Lin Chen had an additional trump card to fight against Sacred Heart cultivators and above. The memory fusion is complete. Looks like I can try to refine a 7th grade sacred pill after this trip is over. It's just that the pill recipe and materials are a bit difficult to get. Just as Lin Chen was feeling vexed, he opened his Providence plant pouch and was instantly dumbfounded. He saw a dazzling array of heavenly and earthly treasures. Countless heavenly treasures covered the Providence plants, and they glowed brilliantly. For a moment, Lin Chen wondered if he had entered the wrong Providence plant pouch. When Bai Qianqian saw Lin Chen's spiritual form enter, she stopped what she was doing and smiled sweetly. Master, you're here. The young girl's eyebrows were curved, and her dimples were shallow. Her smile was extremely sweet and fresh, making Lin Chen feel as if he was bathed in a spring breeze. Qianqian, what's going on? Lin Chen hurriedly asked. As far as he could see, there were at least 4 more types of middle-grade Providence plants. These 4 types of middle-grade Providence plants were not pseudo-middle-grade seeds produced by the Providence Reverser. They were the seeds of true heavenly treasures. Big Sister Scarlet gave this to me. She said she wanted me to give you a surprise. There's also this. I haven't started to help Master cultivate it yet. Bai Qianqian carefully opened her delicate palm. A half-moon-shaped seed was pink, and it was enshrouded in faint moonlight. It was extremely mysterious. Lin Chen was stunned at first, but when he came back to his senses, the corners of his mouth trembled fiercely. Could this be the seed of a superior-grade Providence plant? Lin Chen was completely shocked. It was not an exaggeration to describe a superior-grade Providence plant seed as a priceless treasure. Logically speaking, it was impossible for anyone to sell superior-grade Providence plant seeds in the sacred boundary because the value of this item was too great. It was immeasurable. That's right. This is a superior-grade Providence plant seed, the crescent flower. Bai Qianqian seemed to like seeing Lin Chen's shocked expression very much. She smiled happily and said, Big Sister Scarlet wants me to give you a surprise, Lin Chen exclaimed. It's actually the crescent flower. Legend had it that this superior-grade Providence plant's crescent flower's petals had the effect of reviving ordinary saints. Even for saints at their peak, it had an extremely strong healing effect. Furthermore, the crescent flower took 100 years to form and 10,000 years to bloom. It was extremely precious. However, what was even more terrifying was that Lin Chen had the help of Bai Qianqian, an auspicious beast, which could greatly shorten the time it took for the crescent flower to form. Why is Fairy Scarlet helping me to this extent? Could it be that she has some hidden troubles? Yes, I'll have to interrogate her later. This could be considered the most precious gift Lin Chun had received after coming to the sacred boundary, because with this item, his servants would be able to recover from their injuries much faster. Chapter 1425. Lin Chun knew very well that one should not receive a reward without any effort. Therefore, he was very curious as to why Fairy Scarlet was helping him. The divine elixir pills I prepared are gone again. How can this little guy eat so fast? Looking at the plant pouch of Providence and the sleeping little shadow, Lin Chun had no choice but to use his doppelgangers again to refine elixir pills. With his current alchemy skills and mental strength, refining divine elixir pills below grade 3 was a piece of cake. With sufficient materials and a maximum success rate, one doppelganger could refine about 10 divine elixir pills a day. With 6 doppelgangers refining together, he could refine at least 70 divine elixir pills a day. In the entire sacred boundary, apart from Lin Chun, there were not many forces or alchemists who could afford to raise Little Shadow. Not everyone could be like Lin Chun, who had a group of alchemists by his side. The third round of the Stairway to Heaven competition began. Lin Chun quietly refined elixir pills and began to absorb a large amount of golden Saint Origin coins. The battle between sages was like this. The consumed saint power had to be replenished with golden Saint Origin coins or silver Saint Origin coins. The other geniuses were also racing against time. As for the sages above the acupoint expansion realm, the amount of resources consumed in a battle could support a large number of mortal war emperors for several years. Not to mention, Lin Chun was a monster who could expand his acupoints by more than 150,000 times. The amount of saint power he consumed to make up for it was an astronomical figure for an ordinary sect. Fortunately, he was not poor. At this stage, he still had more than 50 kinds of inferior spiritual herbs, more than 20 kinds of pseudo-middle spiritual herbs, and more than 10 kinds of middle spiritual herbs. Finally, on the 4th day, the semi-finals ended and the main competition began, and Lin Chun happened to be in the first batch to fight. In the Three Pristines Palace, whether it was the geniuses or the grade 8 forces gathered here, they were all looking forward to this battle. No one doubted that Shangguan Ci, a demonic genius of the Divine Flame Palace, would be weaker than Zhao Mingyu in terms of accumulations. The God Flame Palace had once stood tall in the Sage Monarch domain, and was a superpower that had dominated the primeval age, and ruled over everything. It was not a grade 8 sect, but a grade 9 sect. A peerless sect that truly stood at the peak of the sacred boundary. Moreover, the Divine Flame Palace only recruited women, and the core inheritance was only passed down to the women of the Divine Flame Palace. Any male disciple of the Divine Flame Palace came from the Divine Flame Palace branch palace that was established after the primordial era. Even if it was just a side hall, its power was far beyond an ordinary 8th rank sect. This was the power of a 9th rank giant. It was said that in recent years, a storm was brewing in this side palace, a counterattack against the main palace of the Divine Flame Palace. However, the details were not known to outsiders. Moreover, the next battle would determine the geniuses who were ranked 2000th to 2300th on the monster ranking. Lin Chun and Shangguan Ci opened their eyes at the same time. Whoosh! The two of them activated their movement techniques and entered the portal in a clean and efficient manner. The sword saints from the sword domain exchanged glances. I wonder if this little guy can handle it. The people of Divine Flame Palace are monstrous geniuses after all. In terms of cultivation, Shangguan Ci's 58 saint points can unleash a destructive power of 133 trillion dragon power. Among the previous candidates for the championship, most of them were optimistic about Shangguan Ci and not Zhao Mingyu. Yes, under the premise that Zhao Mingyu has the same cultivation as him. His combat power is also inferior, 133 trillion dragon power. This power was enough to crush most of the complete star realm existences. It was close to the Sacred Heart realm. Unless it was a monstrous star realm cultivator with monstrous talent, it was impossible to suppress Shangguan Ci. The dozen or so rank 8 experts exchanged glances for a moment. Almost all of them agreed that Lin Chen could only use that ultimate move, 9-colored star, to fight against Shangguan Ci. However, that ultimate move was obviously a move that used the origin of his saint point. It was hard to say if he could recover in such a short period of time. This time, he randomly chose a plain in the primordial wasteland. It was lush and verdant with towering ancient trees. There were even many low-level ferocious beasts. Scarlet light surged and curved like the moon. Shangguan Ci pulled the bowstring, and a huge scarlet bow appeared in the sky. As soon as he entered the primordial wasteland, Shangguan Ci directly pulled the bowstring. The saint power condensed like a flaming tornado and shot out a fiery red lightning. Clang! Whoosh! The arrow shone like an aurora, and the heat wave seemed to fill the entire world. There was no way to retreat. Everywhere it passed, the entire primordial wasteland burned into a sea of fire, burning thousands of miles. He used the Divine Flame Palace's intermediate orange-grade cultivation technique, the Blazing Flame 7 ultimate arrows. He had no intention of giving Lin Chen a chance to retreat. Damn, are all the men from the Divine Flame Palace so fast? Lin Chen shouted, his lips curled into a mocking smile. He activated his movement technique at lightning speed. As his heavenly demon wings frantically retreated, his Saint Dragon appeared and used the Transcendence Bloodline's special ability, Heavenly Claw, to grab at the sky. Whoosh! He used Instant Light Clone, and the Heavenly Claw split into 5. However, the arrow still pierced through all 5 and burned them into nothingness. Rip! At that moment, a stream of light and an arrow pierced through the sky and collided. The earth-shattering explosion shook the entire plane. All the monstrous prodigies were stunned. A thought subconsciously flashed across their mind. It can't be that ridiculous, right? Lin Chen flapped his black wings in the sky, holding a crescent-shaped azure battle bow in his hand. 3 cloud thunderstar stones were inlaid in front of the bow. The starlight connected and flowed slowly, and the bowstring throbbed like thunder. 7th grade Saint Bow, 9 clouds stars wrath. Even more mysterious was the flying dagger that was as thin as a cicada's wing. It was enshrouded in a sharp white light, and its edge bloomed like a dancing butterfly as it circled Lin Chen. Fatal killing intent was hidden under its beauty. 7th grade flying dagger, rhino spirit flying dagger. All the mighty figures' mouths twitched violently. Another 2 brand new 7th grade saint artifacts. This was too crazy. Did this kid really not have a powerful faction behind him? How could he have so many 7th grade saint artifacts without the support of a powerful faction? Including the 3 saint artifacts he had used previously, he had a total of 5. If any 8th grade force wanted to take out 5 7th grade saint artifacts, it could be said to be a serious injury or even bankruptcy. I suspected that this kid had a deep relationship with the Divine Flame Palace, but it doesn't seem like it. That's right. The Divine Flame Palace's attitude toward him is so bad. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem like he has anything to do with the Divine Flame Palace. But this kid, how did he get so many 7th grade saint artifacts? The mighty figures in the 3 Pristines Palace asked themselves. Even they couldn't bring so many 7th grade saint artifacts with them. Shangguan Ci was interested, and the disdain and sneer at the corners of his mouth didn't change. You want to rely on the number of 7th grade saint artifacts to defeat me? Dream on. It's true that 7th grade saint artifacts have high spirituality, but it also depends on who's controlling them. You think too highly of yourself if you want to rely on the autonomous battle consciousness of the saint artifacts to reverse the gap between us, Lin Chen. Lin Chen shrugged and smiled mockingly. Shangguan Ci, right? Do you remember what I used to do? Shangguan Ci frowned. What does it have to do with me what you used to do? Lin Chen suddenly smiled wickedly and playfully. I used to open a club. As soon as he said that, boom! 6 divine lights descended, and flowers fell from the sky. 6 Lin Chens appeared out of nowhere. At this moment, all the powerhouses in the 3 Pristines Palace in the outside world were instantly stunned. Chapter 1426. The 6 illusionary clones stood beside Lin Chen like stars supporting the moon. They were either standing upright with spears or holding swords and sabers. They were extraordinarily handsome, and their auras were deep and long. That expansive acupoint aura that belonged solely to Lin Chen suppressed the surroundings. It was exactly the same as Lin Chen himself. Shang Guanxi's pupils constricted. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. Even he was unable to distinguish which was Lin Chen's true body and which was his main body. Without waiting for Shang Guanxi to hesitate or suspect whether Lin Chen was bluffing, Lin Chen's clones raised their hands and struck. Boom! The gigantic palm that burned the 9-layered fire seal appeared out of nowhere and split into 5, just like before. Clang! The clones drew their sabers and slashed out divine tears with absolute flames. The saber aura spun rapidly and slashed toward Shang Guanxi. Roar! The dragon's roar shattered thousands of mountains, and 8 spiritual burning dragons soared into the sky, changing the universe with a roar. The dragon's roar was like a hurricane, heading straight for Shang Guanxi. Whoosh! Lightning flashed, and snow-like flying saber auras shot toward him, piercing through thousands of miles of space. Oh no! Shang Guanxi's hair stood on end. Light flowed over his body and formed a blue battle armor. As he retreated, he quickly drew his holy bow and shot rapidly. Bang! 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 Terrifying attacks surrounded Shang Guanxi and beat him up, forcing him to use killer moves time and time again and actually suppressing him head-on. Damn it, does such a technique really exist in the aristocratic families? This kind of person is simply defying the heavens. Shang Guanxi couldn't help but be shocked in his heart. His 6 clones actually all had the same strength as his main body. How was that possible? Even an orange-grade intermediate clone technique didn't have such a heaven-defying effect. What was even more ridiculous was that each of his clones could use his extremely strange secret technique, a secret technique that could split a combat skill into 5. If it was just Lin Chen alone, Shang Guanxi wouldn't be afraid at all. He was even confident that he could suppress him for a short time. If there were 2 of them, he could also maintain a slight advantage. If there were 3 of them, even he would have to use the trump card left for him by the Divine Flames Palace branch. But now there were 6 of them, and that didn't include Lin Chen's main body. The 6 Lin Chens had completely suppressed Shang Guanxi. Shang Guanxi's foundation and the many trump cards the Divine Flame Palace had given him could only be defeated by Lin Chen's clone's fierce attack. Shang Guanxi had no choice but to defend himself. Seeing this scene, the powerful figures of the various rank 8 forces of the 3 Pristines Palace slowly stood up. Even the big shots of the sword domain couldn't help but mutter to themselves, "There's such a thing?" The mighty figure's eyes were filled with disbelief. Is this true? This old man has traversed the sacred boundary for many years. Most of the cloning techniques I know have little effect after reaching the life and death realm. Either the clone is too weak, or the clone's cultivation is too low, so most of the clones have to rely on condensing a spiritual clone. He's obviously not a spiritual doppelganger. Too monstrous. How many trump cards does this kid have? Unless he has a special bloodline, he can condense a super powerful clone with his bloodline talent. Could this be his bloodline talent? Most of the rank 8 forces knew that Lin Chen had an extremely mysterious cloning technique. But they also knew that the stronger one was, the harder it would be to use a clone technique that was close to the strength of the main body. Especially after Lin Chen expanded his acupoints, Almost all the mighty figures thought that although his cloning technique was mysterious, it wouldn't be useful in a battle of this level. No matter what, it was impossible for him to use a clone that had expanded his acupoints by 31,000 times. And Lin Chen's subsequent battles had indirectly confirmed the mighty figure's guesses. At that time, almost everyone thought that after his cloning technique reached the acupoint expansion realm, he wouldn't be able to win the battle. But in fact, the reason why his clones didn't appear was that his main body was polishing his strength and needed an extreme one-on-one battle. Secondly, his clones took his place in seclusion. They were either cultivating their techniques, fusing their alchemy skills, or refining pills. They were extremely busy. Now that his trump card, the Phantom Doppelganger, was used, every move of his clones was accompanied by instant light split shadows, beating Shangguan Ci to the point that he couldn't fight back at all. Seeing Lin Chen suppress Shangguan Ci and beat him up, the monstrous geniuses of Divine Flame Palace were dumbfounded and made gurgling sounds in their throat. In less than 7 minutes, Shangguan Ci was already badly mutilated and severely injured. How did he get injured so quickly? It's the same as that time with Zhao Mingyu. Look, Shangguan Ci's wounds haven't been healed by the saint power. The mighty figures with sharp eyes had especially solemn expressions. Lin Chen was definitely the nightmare of any saint under the Saint Heart realm in the world. Apart from the explosive increase in strength, the most important thing for a life and death realm cultivator was their recovery ability. However, this recovery ability was completely useless in front of Lin Chen, suffering an absolute suppression. What kind of concept was this? This was equivalent to breaking an arm of a life and death realm cultivator. Being surrounded by him like this, once he was injured, it would continue to worsen. In terms of a protracted battle, he, Lin Chen, simply had no flaws. Especially after he condensed his acupoints, how many people in the top 2,000 of the monster ranking could suppress him? It was simply unimaginable. After Shangguan Ci was beaten up, he finally recognized the reality. In the current situation, there was no possibility of defeating Lin Chen. I Sir-F***CKU. Lin Chen flipped his hand and threw out a slowing rune with 5,000 points of top-notch rune energy. Shangguan Ci's words were about to come out of his mouth, but he couldn't shout them out. Lin Chen didn't even give Shangguan Ci a chance to surrender. With a pull of his palm, for throwing knives danced in the sky like flowing lights and shadows, rushing toward Shangguan Ci like lightning. 4 absolute shadows. Clang, clang, clang. The 4 flying daggers surged, and when they slashed at his sacred armor, they all exploded. Attribute light balls scattered all over the sky, and Shangguan Ci vomited blood and fell. Whoosh! Lin Chen turned into a black shadow, and the 9-layer burning sky palm struck out again, sending Shangguan Ci to the deepest part of the great wilderness dimension. The entire dimension began to burn intensely. Lin Chen wins this Stairway Heaven competition. When the referee elder noticed that Shangguan Ci had lost consciousness, he immediately stood out. A dignified super-monstrous genius of the Divine Flame Palace was hammered into serious injury just like that. Lin Chen didn't even have a decent injury left. This result was once again out of everyone's expectations. Host received 29 strengthening points, 13,000 Heaven's Path points, 1,300,000 Set Essence points, 20 million Advanced Talent points. Opened 5 Light Supreme Treasure Chest. Received 2,000 Intermediate Strengthening Point. After Lin Chen collected a large number of Attribute Light Balls and Attribute Treasure Chests, he happily left the battle dimension. Motherf ***, he hid it too well. Lin Chen is definitely a sly old fox. If he had released his clones at the beginning, he probably wouldn't have needed to do anything himself. But this kid hid like a ghost. Many of the 3 Pristine Palace's experts' understanding of Lin Chen had increased by another level. In fact, Many of them no longer saw Lin Chen as a junior, but more of them saw him as an expert of the same level. If Lin Chen used his full strength and combined all his clones, other than a few rare existences under the Sacred Heart Realm, Lin Chen would be invincible. Chapter 1427. Many people sighed as they looked at Shangguan Ci, who was carried out with burns all over his body. Even his fur had been burnt off. Another one was carried away by Lin Chen. When Lin Chen was teleported back to the Three Pristines Palace, he smiled and shrugged as he looked at the angry faces of those from the Divine Flame Palace. It was as if he was saying, "That's it? That's it?" Uxian's face was filled with astonishment and disbelief. Looking at Lin Chen, who was at ease, she exclaimed, "Young Master Lin Chen, just how strong are you?" Lin Chen looked up at the sky and said in a deep voice, "What's the use of being strong? I'm still not as handsome as that man." Uxian was speechless. At this moment, Lin Ping ran over and tugged at Lin Chen's clothes excitedly. "Lin Chen, can you take me with you into the battlefield of the 9 clans?" Lin Chen was confused. Only the top 500 of the Stairway Tournament could enter the battlefield of the 9 clans. Other than those who had received the protection of the 9 clans, no one else could enter, not even if they were placed in the Providence Plant pouch. Other than special beings like the ultimate Dark Shadow, Lin Chen planned to let Bai Qianqian out this time. "I've already asked, and I'm confident that I can enter. Take me with you this time. I'll protect you." The little girl patted her chest confidently, which made Uxian burst into laughter. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. Lin Ping An's reputation as the Calamity of Pain was not undeserved. If she could enter, this trip would be much safer. This little girl is an energy spirit. She might really be able to sneak in. Since they hit it off, Lin Chen decided to let Lin Ping and give it a try. After all, if anything happened, Lin Chen could still use his super-dimensional teleportation talent to teleport her out in a short distance. After the battle with Lin Chen, more and more monsters emerged victorious. Finally, when the rankings were released, Monster Ranking 2001 No Sect Lin Chen, Monster Ranking 2002 Divine Flame Palace Shangguan Chen. Lin Chen was ranked 2001st on the Monster Ranking. He was the only person in the history of the Demon Genius list who had reached the 2001st rank with the cultivation of the Acupoint Expansion Realm. When the rewards were given out, Lin Chen was also given the right to choose a low-grade orange tier cultivation method, a mid-grade plant of Providence seed, and a 5th-grade sacred artifact. The rewards were very generous. After the rewards were distributed, Zui Lao Weng and the other powerful figures personally summoned the 500 geniuses. Every time the battlefield of the 9 clans opens, some monstrous geniuses will die. It's really a loss for the human race. When Zui Lao Weng announced to the crowd, he looked a little emotional, as if he was recalling some memories of the past. The opponents you will face are the Devil race on the surface, the Beast race and the Dragon race in the dark, and the Dark Shadow race hiding in the shadows. This will be an extraordinarily difficult exploration, but if you can come back alive, you will have the possibility to reach a higher realm. Zui Lao Weng said in a deep voice, "The opening of the battlefield of the 9 clans will take place in half a month. I hope everyone can prepare well." Yes, all the geniuses responded. Lin Chen was secretly looking forward to it. The battlefield of the 9 clans was the great ancient battlefield where all the races gathered. He wondered what kind of opportunities he would encounter. For Zhao Mingyu and Shangguan Ci, even if they lost, they would still have the chance to participate in the battlefield of the 9 clans. However, what made people scared was that their injuries could not be healed. Instead, they were getting worse. They could only rely on top-grade divine pills to stay alive. When the prizes for the Stairway Heaven competition were distributed, Lin Chen happened to pick a rare and powerful orange tier secret technique, Lotus Dance. It was a flying dagger technique. Although it was not a mid-grade orange tier secret technique, it was what Lin Chen lacked. A mid-grade orange tier cultivation method was not easy to find. Even if one could buy it, one would need to have the right opportunity to do so. The lotus dance was a technique where the flying dagger would bloom into countless dancing lotuses. The real killing blow would only be hidden in the dancing lotuses in the sky. It would dazzle the enemy and make them unable to see clearly. It had the wonderful effect of hiding the killing intent. After leaving the Three Pristines Palace and returning to Crouching Dragon City, Lin Chen felt that he had completed another task. His whole body felt refreshed. The moment Lin Chen and the others appeared, they immediately caused a commotion in Dragon City. With his current reputation, he would be known by all the 5th grade forces and above in the 36 regions after a period of time. He was a living legend. "You have won, Lin Chen," a cold voice echoed in his ears. When Yili Shui appeared and walked over slowly, the people of Purple Cloud King Valley could not help but be on guard again. They were not interested in this valley mistress. Firstly, she wanted to divide the people of Purple Cloud King Valley. Secondly, she wanted to use Qingwu as a bargaining chip to strengthen her family. "Auntie, do you have anything else to say? You can't be asking me to take good care of Qingwu or something like that, right?" Lin Chen smiled casually. This woman's scheming was no small matter. At most, Lin Chen could only be considered to have protected Little Fairy. Whether he won or not, he might still be in the other party's calculations. With Purple Cloud King Valley's current situation, we have offended the Zhao family. There will definitely be people who will secretly do something. Right now, you can't turn the tide alone. I hope to see you build your own force in the future. No matter what, Qingwu is still my daughter. I don't want to see her rely on a commander without an army. After Yili Shui finished speaking, Lin Chen said meaningfully, "Yes, I will. I will definitely do as you wish." Whoosh! The sound of wind breaking could be heard. A group of people appeared in Dragon City. It was a group of people from the Pill region. There seemed to be 2 more elders. The Pill region's Elder Guild seemed to have left halfway through the Stairway Heaven competition. Now that they had returned in such a hurry, the various forces who had just left were confused. The next moment, everyone's jaw dropped. Thump! The leader in green and the hemp-clothed elder actually knelt down in front of Lin Chen on the spot. All the rank 8 almighties were confused. What's going on? The Pill region's Elder Guild was an overlord in the Heavenly Sanctuary. They were a reputable figure and an organization. How could they kneel down just like that? Was it a trend to kneel down in front of Lin Chen recently? "Thank you, Lin Chen, for your great kindness. The Elder Guild will never forget it." The hemp-clothed elder was extremely emotional. He even cried on the spot. Originally, when Lin Chen accepted Song Ilian's Bodhi Transformation Sage Pill, he had said that he would return the Elder Guild a great gift. At that time, no one knew what he meant. Now they knew. This great gift could be recorded in the Pill region's history books. This gift was the Pill region's alchemy legend, the creation pill sage, Yu Wangxing. He was a peerless alchemy genius who had been buried in history. In the same era, he was known as the alchemy giant who was closest to becoming a rank 9 sage alchemist. However, such a great figure had charged into the Sage Monarch region because of the death of his beloved. In the end, he had become a prisoner in the Sage prison. The legend of a generation had ended and was buried in history. Until some time ago, Yu Wangxing had personally returned to the Pill region's Elder Guild alive. The higher-ups of the Elder Guild were all shocked. Only then did they recall everyone from the Pill region. The higher-ups held an emergency meeting overnight. Lin Chen waved his sleeves and asked the 2 elders to stand up. He smiled slightly and said, "Both of you are too polite. Come, let's find a time to sit down and talk slowly." Yi Lishue's beautiful eyes turned and stared at Lin Chen's back. She could not help but feel a strong sense of curiosity and seriousness in her heart. How many more secrets does this young man have? She could not see through him. Until now, she still could not see through him at all. Maybe it's not a bad thing that Qinggu was saved by him. Chapter 1428. More and more people were paying attention to Hidden Dragon City. Lin Chun quickly left with the people from the Pill region. The Elders Guild's kneeling was different from the Thousand Flames Palace's situation. The outside world didn't know about the relationship between Thousand Flames Palace and Qi Fian, but everyone knew that Yu Wangsheng was the pillar of the Elders Guild. There were too many people here. If there were spies from the Holy Prison, they might really be targeted. Cloud Cauldron Tower VIP Room. Lin Chun met with the Elders Guild alone. The people from the Pill region's Elders Guild were still excited. Especially the way Song Ilian stared at Lin Chun. Her eyes were burning, as if she wanted to strip him naked and look at him from head to toe. Was this young man really human? How could he save someone from the Holy Prison? Lin Chun Lil. No, Benefactor Lin Chun, I was too excited just now. I hope you don't mind. The hemp-clothed old man's tone was still filled with shock and excitement. Yu Wangsheng's return meant that the Pill region's Elders Guild's alchemy foundation had become stronger. This strength came from his attainments in alchemy. With Yu Wangsheng's guidance, the entire Elders Guild could rise in power. Benefactor Lin Chun is indeed someone who can expand acupoints by 30,000 times. To be honest, when that lord called you lord, I almost peed in my pants. The cyan-clothed powerhouse sighed and hurriedly returned to the Pill region. He finally knew why Lin Chun could expand acupoints by 30,000 times. Damn it, who could save someone from the Holy Prison? Since ancient times, who could do that? Expanding acupoints by 30,000 times, he deserved it. Lin Chun smiled and said, "Why did you come back? Now that you're kneeling, it's not a small problem." Sorry, I was too emotional. Back then, when Senior Yu taught me, the hemp-clothed old man was like a sentimental chatterbox. Once he opened his mouth, it was as if the yellow river was overflowing. He talked about the past in high spirit. All right, you should rest first. The cyan-clothed powerhouse hurriedly stopped him. Then, he waved his hands, and a large number of spatial jade slips appeared in the room. The jade slip was sealed with layers upon layers of spiritual imprints, as if it were shackled by thousands of shackles. If one's spiritual power was strong enough, they would be able to clearly feel the massive amount of spiritual information sealed within this jade slip. This is... Lin Chun's eyes lit up as he asked. This is the potion refining manual with the most refined elements among the 3 pavilions of the Elder Council. I have specially come to give it to you, Benefactor Lin Chun. I hope you won't refuse. The green-robed giant laughed. This was specially instructed by that lord. He said that Benefactor will definitely need it. As for the Elder Council, he will add in new members. Lin Chun's expression was somewhat solemn. These spatial jade slips were actually the alchemy manuals of the Elders Guild. That was something left behind by every single alchemist from the early days of the Pill region's Elder Assembly until now. Just like the history books of the Council of Elders, everything was spread out in front of Lin Chun. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe them as priceless treasures. He didn't think that Yu Weixing would have such power to empty the Pill region's Elder Assembly's alchemy manual and deliver it to him, Lin Chun. Then, many thanks to everyone. Give these alchemy manuals to me, Lin Chun. I definitely won't let them go to waste. Lin Chun didn't hesitate and accepted them all. From a normal point of view, with so many alchemy manuals, if it was any other alchemist, they wouldn't be able to finish reading them in a short period of time. This wasn't something that could be finished in a day. No matter what, for someone like Lin Chun to become the Heaven's chosen champion at such a young age, it was already a heaven-defying feat. Obviously, Yu Weixing didn't treat his lord as a normal person. Lin Chun himself needed to focus on alchemy. This was closely related to his own strength. At Lin Chun's current level, Only alchemy manuals, mental state, and top-notch alchemy manuals could improve his alchemy skills. Benefactor is straightforward. Ha 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 ha. Everyone drank and chatted merrily for a while before ending this short gathering. Realm Pagoda, Sword Region, Purple Cloud King Valley, Class 66, and the others knew that Lin Chun had important matters to attend to, so they didn't disturb him. Lin Chun officially entered seclusion in Cloud Cauldron Inn. This time, he was going to focus on alchemy, consuming 1,450,000 top-notch cultivation technique essence, beginning to integrate all alchemy manuals in Host's collection. Endless cultivation memories flooded into Lin Chun, his main body, and his doppelganger's minds. Lin Chen's head was in so much pain that it felt like it was about to split open. His spiritual sea faintly felt like it was about to collapse. This was the first time he had integrated such a huge amount of cultivation memories. With 6 doppelgangers sharing the burden, it wasn't an easy task. This huge amount of cultivation jade slips was equivalent to the Pill Region's Elder Guild's history of alchemy. They were all integrated into Lin Chen's memories. If an ordinary alchemist wanted to learn all the alchemy manuals, they would have to spend at least several epochs. System, I want to awaken 3 stages of mental power. Consuming 60,000 high-grade Heaven's Path points. Beginning to awaken 3 stages of mental power. 1%, 2%. Following the speed of his mental power awakening, Lin Chen's integration of cultivation memories became faster and faster. In the end, he didn't feel any burden. However, there was a problem. Lin Chen had to continuously consume the roaming soul fruit to replenish his mental power. The faster his mental power revolved, the more mental power he would need to consume. 3 stages of mental power awakening completed. 100% complete. Host's mental power revolved 200 times faster. Lin Chen's integration of cultivation memories was not only free of burden, it was also 10 times faster than before. Okay, my doppelganger will integrate the cultivation memories. I will personally verify these alchemy manuals and combine them all together to find the most suitable path for me. Lin Chen opened his eyes. A huge amount of treasures appeared in his mind as he began to refine medicine. Crouching Dragon City, a certain building. Why can't it be cured? The screams were extremely tragic and heart-wrenching. Another group of divine flame palace monsters shook their heads and sighed. The one who was injured was Shangguan Ci. His injuries had yet to recover, and even Zui Lao Wang and the others couldn't help him. Senior brother Shangguan Ci, don't worry. We will help you take revenge after we enter the 9 races battlefield. If we can awaken our ancestors' consciousness in the battlefield, even 10 Lin Chens won't be our match. The 2 junior brothers comforted Shangguan Ci and gritted their teeth. Shangguan Ci's eyes were about to crack as he roared. We must tear him into pieces. Tear him into pieces. Outside the heavenly sacred region, in a dimly lit hall in an extremely distant space plane. Ha ha ha! His laughter shook the entire plane. Heaven and earth were in turmoil as his wild laughter reverberated in the sky. Success, this lord has finally succeeded. Ancient God, oh ancient God, I have finally walked ahead of you. I, Een Son of Heaven, have finally discovered the method to create high-grade odd crystals. This sacred boundary can't restrain me. Rumble. Thunder rumbled as the plane shook. Een Son of Heaven's laughter was like the screeching of an owl that didn't stop. Chapter 1429. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Bang! The Cloud Cauldron Inn was on the verge of collapsing. F***ck. That scared me to death. Even my second brother was scared. What happened? Can't you let me exercise in peace? The handsome people have already started exercising, and the ugly people are still making explosions. The people in the Cloud Cauldron Inn were given quite a fright. Fortunately, The Cloud Cauldron Inn's private rooms had spatial enchantments around them. It's Lin Chen's room. What is he doing? When everyone looked at his room, the door was pushed open, and a certain Lin walked out. Benefactor Lin Chen, you seem to have gained a great harvest. The elder from the Pil region's Elder Council stroked his beard and smiled. Lin Chen smiled. This is all thanks to the alchemy outline you sent. During this closed-door cultivation, Lin Chen had found a new alchemy method. It was a method that belonged to him alone. Lin Chen changed the topic. Right, what is the dividing line between a 7th-grade Saint-grade alchemist and an 8th-grade Saint-grade alchemist? When Lin Chen asked this question to the Elders Guild, everyone's expressions changed dramatically. Could it be that their benefactor had reached the peak of the 7th grade? This was too monstrous. A year ago, when he participated in the Heaven's Choice Convention, he was only at the 6th grade. None of the elders present had reached the peak of the 7th grade. This time, he had refined a lot of pills, but Lin Chen still felt that he was lacking a little. He still did not reach the requirements of the alchemy outline. If he had the recipe, Lin Chen's success rate of refining a 7th grade pill would be around 50%. If all of his clones worked together, the success rate of refining any 7th grade pill would be infinitely close to 99%. However, he was still lacking a little bit in refining an 8th grade pill. Lin Chen still could not find what he was lacking. There was only one sentence in each of the 8 rank giants' pill refinement outlines. Naturally formed core, 8th grade saint transformation. I once saw a grand elder refine pills, the hemp-clothed old man suddenly said. His eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of the past. Refining an 8th grade sacred pill is different from refining ordinary pills. The pill must first be refined into a core, then into an embryonic pill, and finally into a complete pill. If you can't refine the core when refining pills, even if you use the same treasures as the 8th grade pill formula and successfully condense the embryonic pill, the final product won't be an 8th grade pill. It will be a 7th grade peak or 7th grade sacred pill. If you don't form the core, you will never be able to reach the 8th grade. The hemp garment old man said seriously. Lin Chen blurted out subconsciously. Then the method to refine the core, no. There is no way to refine Dan core in this world. This thing can only be understood and not taught. The hemp-clothed old man shook his head. I've only heard about it from my predecessors. Every 8th-tier saint-level alchemist has a completely different method of refining pill cores. It's an alchemist's lifetime of learning and finally finding the essence of their own refining characteristic. Others can't learn it, they can only comprehend it themselves. Self-enlightenment. Every 8th-tier alchemist's method of refining pill cores was different. It wasn't a skill passed down from the formula, it could only be comprehended by oneself. If you can't refine the core, even if you have the 8th grade pill formula, you can only refine a 7th grade sacred pill. To Lin Chen, this could be considered the most difficult alchemy challenge he had ever faced. He was unable to use the cultivation method essence to learn from his predecessors. It seems that I have to cross this hurdle myself. Lin Chen pondered for a moment and shook his head helplessly. Lin Ping tugged at his clothes and muttered, Lin Chen, I'm hungry. You only know how to eat all day long. Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. Why was he surrounded by foodies? Leng Yueqi, who was standing behind Lin Chen, suddenly smiled. Your little fairy is at the Yi family. She called you a few days ago. Don't you want to see her? The little fairy is looking for me? Lin Chen was stunned and immediately puzzled. Why did she go to the Yi family again? With doubts in his heart, Lin Chen left the Cloud Cauldron Tower. At night, Lin Chen arrived at the Yi family. Lin Chen followed the little fairy's instructions and teleported to a spatial plane. The moonlight was alluring and exceptionally enchanting. Peach blossoms were everywhere and the clear stream was enshrouded in the bright moonlight. This place was like a paradise, making Lin Chen feel relaxed and happy. When Lin Chun stared at the mountain peak in the distance, his gaze was instantly attracted by the dancing figure. On the mountain peak, the moonlight was embellished and beautiful gauze fluttered in the wind. The figure's clothes were embroidered like pearls and jade. A beautiful young girl smiled as she looked at the youth in the distance. Her cheeks were as beautiful as peach blossoms, and her beautiful eyes were like flowing waves. They were dazzling and filled with a bone-chilling charm. A strand of jade-colored hibiscus hair floated on her beautiful, snow-white collarbone. She wore a light skirt that was like a crimson cloud. She was elegant and charming. Her snow-white wrist rolled up a neon jade belt and waved layers of peach blossoms that were like waves of smoke as she danced. Her soft and slender waist twisted and rolled up her pink skirt. It fluttered like clouds and peach blossoms. When she waved her jade-like hands, the neon silk fluttered like two rising rainbows. Under the moonlight, they were overflowing with light and color. They were magnificent and magnificent. Her skin was like sparkling and translucent snow jade under the moonlight. Her eyes were like blue waves under the moonlight as she stared at Lin Chun. Lin Chun was stunned. It was as if the world's most beautiful fairy was dancing under the moonlight. It was so beautiful that one couldn't take their eyes off her. The person's crescent brows lifted slightly. When she closed her eyes slightly, her red lips opened slightly. In the twilight world, I hope it will come slowly. You in the painting, come quickly please, let me remember your smile. Lin Chun couldn't help but be intoxicated by her beautiful voice. He had heard the voices of different beauties, each with their own merits. Shangguan Bihan's tenderness, Yulin Lin's crispness, Yun Manqing's sweetness, Yen Qinyun's sweetness, Ning Qingshuan's heavenly voice, Bai Ruoyan's elegance, Leng Yueqi's elegance, and the Empress's grace. However, her voice was elegant and charming. It was like the pure laughter of a pure young girl. It also carried a trace of charm that could hook one's soul. Sometimes it sounded like a girl who was in love for the first time, making one feel refreshed. Other times it sounded like the low moans of a fairy, making one's heart flutter and one's body go limp. Your eyes are like the stars. I really want to hug you tightly. The most precious thing, maybe it's the stars twinkling in your eyes. The neon silk fluttered and the pink skirt swayed slightly. After the dance ended, Lin Chun was still immersed in the aftertaste of the dance and couldn't calm down for a long time. Do you like it? Under the moonlight, the fairy smiled beautifully like a flower. Lin Chun nodded and clicked his tongue in wonder. Little fairy, where did you learn this dance? The little demon empress floated towards Lin Chun and landed in front of him. She smiled and said, I learned it since I was young. It's just that you didn't realize it. The name of this dance is my name, Yi Qingwu. The little demon empress' eyes flickered as she smiled. About the matter between me and mother, thank you. Lin Chun waved his hand and grinned. It's nothing. What kind of friendship do we have? It's just a small problem. Yi Qingwu pursed her lips and smiled lightly. Compared to what you're going to do in the future, it's indeed a small problem. You still have to go to Divine Flame Palace and take back your goddess, right? Hee, you still understand me. As for that goddess, Sister Ruoyan is indeed a fairy, but she definitely won't be the goddess of Divine Flame Palace. Lin Chun chuckled. The two of them had a tacit understanding, as if they could think of everything together. Yi Qingwu didn't tell Lin Chun. The first dance that a woman of the Yi family learned at birth could only be watched by one person in her life, and that person was her husband. Why tell him? This way it's already pretty good. Chapter 1430. Here, this is for you. The little demon empress tossed something to Lin Chun, and he opened it to take a look. Purple star clouds. Lin Chun was dumbfounded and said in shock, a mid-orange rank arrow art? A mid-orange rank art was extremely precious even in the upper echelons of the monster genius list. Normally, a rank 7 sect would only have one intermediate orange rank cultivation method. The little demon empress smiled and said, yes, my King Valley's ancestor obtained this by chance. We have the original copy in our King Valley. This scroll was carved by the Grand Elder for thousands of years. Father told me to give it to you. Aren't you good at shooting? This is just right for you. Speaking of which, can you change this if you're good at shooting? But forget it, it's the truth anyway. Lin Chen grinned and accepted it wholeheartedly. The little demon empress smiled and said, "Everyone in King Valley is very grateful to you and said that you don't need to feel pressured. King Valley is not afraid of the Zhao family's revenge at all." Lin Chen patted his chest and said, "It's okay, go to Ice Heart Palace if you have any problems. I've never been afraid of fighting, you know." Lin Chen and the little demon empress talked for a long time. Although the little demon empress didn't know Yi Lishue's intentions, she didn't hate her mother. She knew that her mother's background was even more tragic than hers. This might be because she tried her best to develop the Yi family. The next day, the top 500 of the Monster Genius list gathered. Lin Chen handed Bai Qianqian and the Destiny Plant pouches to Fairy Scarlet and left her outside. He kept Lin Pingon and the little demon empress in the clear snow plant pouch. Inside the Three Pristines Palace, the giant spatial door opened. Zui Laoweng stood in front of the spatial door and warned everyone seriously. "This trip is extremely dangerous. The battlefield of the 9 races is extremely large. In terms of the size of the plain, it is 1/5 the size of the sacred boundary. Every race has their own territory. Remember, unless there are special circumstances, do not cross the boundary. Once you cross the boundary, especially the dragon race, it will cause a war in an instant." Most of the monstrous geniuses present had serious expressions. No one dared to underestimate this trip. If they were not careful, they might die at the hands of the other races. Although they were on the Monster Genius list, it did not mean that they would not die. In the sacred boundary of the human race, they could do whatever they wanted. With their status on the Genius list, they didn't need to be afraid that someone would kill them. However, in the battlefield of the 9 clans, the primeval beings, the experts of the various clans, and the ancient devil kings wouldn't give them any face at all, and they would even annihilate them. Furthermore, these 500 monstrous prodigies were not in a united state. They could be plotting against each other at any moment. Underestimating this operation would be taking one's life as a joke. Zui Laoweng flicked his sleeve, and everyone turned into a stream of light, shooting into the space gate. Boom! Boom! The giant spatial door shook, as if it had reached its limit. The 498 people had just reached its limit. As for the 2 missing people, they had already been carried away. Attack! Zui Laoweng and the other 2 mighty figures extended their hands and injected their saint power to keep the space passage open. A day later, the giant spatial gate that was on the verge of collapse stopped shaking. Phew, it's done. Zui Laoweng wiped the sweat off his forehead as he gazed at the space gate with a hopeful look in his eyes. I hope that these little guys can surpass their masters. There are too many secrets in this 9-clan battlefield. Countless human ancestors have fallen here. Everyone landed on the battlefield of the 9 clans. It was pitch black all around and the stars were twinkling. There was no distinction between day and night. The strange thing was that this place was silvery white, and even the vegetation was of a species that had never been seen in the sacred boundary. It was as if everything was naturally formed. The moment the monstrous prodigies stepped in, they instantly became alert. Very good, Ping An and Little Shadow didn't cause a spatial storm and successfully entered. Lin Chen, who had been paying attention to his Providence plant pouch, couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Then, he channeled his saint power and forcefully pulled. Buzz! Ripples appeared in the space, but it was only slightly distorted and did not tear apart. What a sturdy spatial barrier! It seems that we can't travel through the void here. We can only rely on our saint power to fly. Lin Chen was not surprised. If a large number of peerless powerhouses had fallen here, this was a natural result. When living beings died, their providence would return to the heavens, and their cultivation would merge with the plane they were in. What a vast space! There's no end to it at all. While the monstrous prodigies were wary of each other, Lin Chun casually explored the surroundings. Suddenly, a phenomenon appeared again. Buzz. At this time, a throbbing and calling from the bloodline in his body surged to Lin Chen's heart. Lin Chen discovered that the sacred dragon bloodline was actually a little restless. What's going on? While Lin Chen activated his bloodline to search for the cause, the two translucent blood jades that were piled up beside the gold Saint Origin coins in Qing Shui's plant pouch floated up and gave off a dragon blood-like glow. The dragon shadow sealed in the blood jades actually showed signs of stirring. Lin Chen was instantly stunned. He had not expected this result. This divine dragon blood jade actually reacted in the 9-race battlefield. Chapter 1431. Shangguanchen said solemnly after breaking into a smile. Your Excellency Lin Chen, you have to be careful of the others in the Divine Flame Palace. They are plotting to take revenge on you. I guess they might be using the tombs of their fallen ancestors in the battlefield of the 9 clans. Lin Chen was surprised. Shangguanchen seemed to be a friend and not a foe. He was ranked below Lin Chen on the monster leaderboard in the Stairway tournament. Lin Chen went straight to the point and said, judging from your attitude, it seems that there are many conflicts in the Divine Flame Palace. Is there anything you can tell me? Since you want to cooperate, you have to show your sincerity first. You're a straightforward person, straightforward and straightforward. Refreshing. Shangguanchen praised and then said, in the history of the Divine Flame Palace, an unprecedented event happened. It led to the expulsion of the Divine Flame Palace's Divine Genius from the Divine Flame Palace from the Divine Talent ranking. The reason has not been announced yet, but it is certain that the Divine Flame Palace began to have disagreements because of it. Since the establishment of the Sacred Boundary, the Divine Flame Palace's strongest mental cultivation methods and cultivation methods have always been passed down to females and not males. However, after the previous incident, the Divine Flame Palace began to have a branch palace, and a peerless divine genius joined the branch palace. At this point, Shangguanchen's expression was very complicated. I was able to join the Divine Flame Palace because of this peerless divine genius. He is one of a kind in the sacred boundary with the bloodline of the Einherjar. Lin Chen's expression became more and more solemn. The bloodline of the Einherjar. He had personally experienced how powerful this bloodline was on Shen Lingshuang. To put it bluntly, the bloodline of the Einherjar had the passive effect of his cultivation method fusion function and supreme god possession talent. They were born geniuses in cultivation method. They could master any cultivation method or combat skill in a very short period of time and exert more strength. Moreover, it was not limited to that. It's because of the martial god bloodline sage that the Divine Flame Palace has the possibility to recover. He mastered all the cultivation methods and unique skills of the Divine Flame Palace and gradually modified a large number of core cultivation methods with his own strength, so that the cultivation methods are no longer restricted. Apart from female disciples, male disciples can also practice them. That's why the Divine Flame Palace has the possibility to expand. Shangguanchen stared at Lin Chen. He revitalized Xinyan Palace by himself. Modify the cultivation method? Lin Chen was astonished. The higher the level of a cultivation technique, the more precise it was. A single mistake in a single detail could lead to the cultivator's death in an instant. For example, the sky-reaching sword saint had only obtained 1 scroll of the Tai Futian mantra before he died from the risk of the mantra's backlash. Even Lin Chen had only collected 3 scrolls of the Tai Futian mantra and had only started cultivating it after the system confirmed that he could cultivate it. The difficulty of modifying a cultivation method, especially one above the orange level, was unimaginable. To put it bluntly, even Lin Chen, who had the system, could not completely modify some of the top cultivation methods and combat skills. Shangguan Chen encouraged, "Your Excellency Lin Chen, you don't have to be surprised. The genius list is known as the young blood and hope of the human tribe. The talent list is the pinnacle of the sacred boundary era. Everyone on the list can't be measured by common sense. With Your Excellency Lin Chen's potential, I believe that you will approach them one day." Lin Chen suddenly smiled and said, "Only approach?" Shangguan Chen was stunned. He saw a deep and passionate fighting spirit in Lin Chen's eyes. This young man had a fighting spirit for the talent list. Lin Chen waved his hand and said, "Judging from your situation, the Divine Flame Palace should be divided into two parties now. How could the Divine Flame Palace allow an outsider to affect its foundation?" Judging from the situation, the Divine Flame Palace was in deep trouble now. Yes, those people are so annoying." Feng Shui swayed her long hair and muttered, "After that person modified the cultivation method, if a man wants to cultivate the cultivation method to perfection, he must marry a true disciple of the Divine Flame Palace. Now, that stinky man wants to compete with Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan for the position of the future palace master." Lin Chen narrowed his eyes, and his expression instantly became serious, which shocked Yu Xian. "Sister Feng Shui, what do you mean? Although Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan has not been in our Divine Flame Palace for long, everyone likes her very much. Many elders also stand on Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan's side. However, that guy with the martial god's bloodline secretly roped in a grand elder and a venerable guardian. Even the palace master is on his side. If Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan loses the competition in the future, he will be elected as the palace master of the Divine Flame Palace." Feng Shui was fuming. She clenched her teeth and was unwilling to give up. When the time comes, he will implement the rule that all the female disciples of the Divine Flame Palace can only be married to the people of the Divine Flame Palace in the name of developing the Divine Flame Palace. He still wants to win the position of the palace master and take Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan for himself. Bah! Lin Chen suddenly smiled. "What's that guy's name?" Yu Xian's delicate body trembled. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with killing intent. Shangguan Chen stared at Lin Chen and said word by word, "Wu Pianju." Feng Shui saw that Lin Chen's reaction was different from before, and her eyes lit up. "Brother Lin Chen, your relationship with Senior Sister Bai Ruoyan can't really be like what they say, right?" Lin Chen silently repeated this name in his heart. He remembered Shangguan Ju's words. She could still protect Bai Ruoyan for a short period of time. Lin Chen retracted his murderous aura and remained calm. "My relationship with Sister Ruoyan is very simple. I am her man and she is my woman. No matter who it is, I will only do my best to block her. I don't know how strong the people on the talent saint list are, but some things can only be known after fighting." Shangguan Chen was moved by Lin Chen's boldness. It seemed to be an understatement, but in reality, it required a lot of determination and courage. The Talent Saint list was not the demon list. The concept of challenging the Talent Saint list was completely different from the demon list. It was equivalent to challenging one of the founders of the human race's civilization. Let's go. Many people have already taken action. It's time for us to take action. Lin Chen stepped into the air and flew up. The three followed closely behind him. They each had their own goals and could only look out for each other. At the same time, on the other side of the nine-clan battlefield, buzz! Hundreds of figures appeared in the void. This place was bleak and silver-white like frost, covering the earth and sky. This group of new figures had outstanding horns, and their auras were as dazzling as the sun and the moon. The men were ambitious and powerful, while the women each had their own merit. Some were cold and beautiful, while others were gentle like water. However, the majesty between their brows was difficult to hide. It was as if they were in a high position, and their auras were strong. All of them were peerless geniuses. Yes, the 9-clan battlefield has arrived. Everyone, be careful of the human race and the demon race. These despicable and cunning fellows may be waiting for an opportunity to spy on us. A dignified young man with a blue horn on his head said in a deep voice, "Who do you think you are? How dare you order us around? You can talk nonsense when you can defeat us. We don't need you to tell us what to do. Just humans. We'll kill whoever comes." The people behind him scolded coldly and refuted the former. This group of geniuses was actually the dragon race's geniuses. The dragon race had arrived at the 9-clan battlefield. Chapter 1432. On the third day, the battlefield of the 9 races, the battlefield of the human race. Whoosh! A grayish-white talisman fell from the sky and exploded. The space became particularly slow and solidified, freezing the 2 light figures in the void. Rumble! The 9-fold burning sky palm shot up into the sky and shook one of the light figures that had been solidified by the space. The light figure screamed and turned from a blurry human figure into 2 snow-white ginsengs that were as white as snow and carved with dragon patterns. Lin Chun clenched his fist excitedly and sealed the 2 pieces of snow-white ginsengs with his saint power before storing them in his Providence plant pouch. This was an 8th grade sacred grade heavenly treasure, the Snow Jade Dragon King Ginseng, a supreme grade treasure that could only be found by chance. Whoosh! 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 At that moment, 6 streams of light flashed from all directions and gathered around Lin Chun. They were all his illusionary doppelgangers. Each of the doppelgangers had more or less brought back a large number of supreme-grade heavenly treasures, and the lowest was a 6th-grade sacred-grade heavenly treasure. The 3 people around Lin Chun couldn't help but be amazed. His speed of collecting heavenly treasures was too terrifying. They had been following Lin Chun for the past few days, but they hadn't even gotten a single thing. That was because Lin Chun was just a little bit closer to an area with treasures, and his reaction was ridiculously fast, like a cat that had smelled fish. What was even more terrifying was that when he attacked, he would often use a kind of void freezing technique. Even when facing those rare treasures that had already gained sentience, he would still defeat them with one move. Uxin and Shangguan Chun agreed that Lin Chun hadn't even been serious when he fought with Zhao Mingyu and Shangguan Ci back then. This was 2F** King ridiculously strong. Rumble! Thousands of miles away, a ray of holy light shot up. Another rare treasure? Lin Chen's eyes lit up. He had been having a great time these past 3 days. That's right, it was awesome. The battlefield of the 9 races didn't look conspicuous. At a glance, it was a vast expanse of silver and white, but in fact, it was full of treasures. Even a stone dug out from the ground could be a rare treasure. But the prerequisite was that they had to have the strength to take it away. Everything had spirituality, and so did heavenly materials and earthly treasures. All the rare treasures in the battlefield of the 9 clans had hidden themselves. The battlefield of the 9 clans was boundless, and the spiritual chi here was countless times more abundant than in the outside world. More importantly, too many powerful beings had fallen in the past, and their sacred remains had become the energy that nurtured this plane. Their luck had returned to the heavens, and too many precious treasures had been born here. There were many saint-tier heavenly treasures that could even transform into a human form. Their strength was on par with high-tier saint beasts, and they were so powerful that it made one's scalp tingle. Just think about it. You dug out a rock from the ground, and the rock suddenly turned into a human, and could even heavily injure you with a slap. How dramatic would that be? Therefore, this was an area where danger lurked everywhere, but it was also an area filled with opportunities. However, there was one thing that Lin Chun had an absolute advantage. That was Little Shadow. Little Shadow was one of the strongest races in terms of concealment. All the concealment methods of heavenly materials and earthly treasures were nothing in front of Little Shadow. Therefore, Lin Chen was able to accurately pinpoint the location of every heavenly treasure and sweep them all away. This is 2F** King satisfying. At this rate, I can collect large amounts of high-tier saint-tier heavenly materials and earthly treasures every day. Lin Shui licked his lips. That gaze, no matter how handsome he was, could not help but make an innocent girl like Feng Shui tremble in fear. The current Lin Chen was like a drunkard who treated alcohol like his life had entered a winery, or an old bachelor who had been single for 10,000 years had entered a beautiful woman's den. If he did not do it now, when would he do it? Right now, he lacked these treasures. As long as he had enough saint-tier heavenly materials and earthly treasures, he would be able to refine medicine for his servants, to heal a group of heaven-opening realm and above monsters. No matter how many treasures he had, it would not be enough. He wanted to dig out the entire battlefield of the 9 clans. Earth. 3 feet. He would dig all the way through it, not leaving a single strand of hair behind. With a loud rumble, Lin Chen activated his movement technique, bringing his Saint Dragon and Doppelganger with him as he swept past, completely ignoring the 3 people beside him. 1,000 miles away, 2 other female prodigies were attracted by the phenomenon. "Sister, look, it's the 9 treasures colored glass." The 2 girls stared at the 9-colored glass crystal floating in the air and could not help but rush over with their movement techniques. Rumble. At this moment, demonic aura filled the air. Kakik, someone has taken the bait? First, then eat. This king likes to ravage the genius women of the human race, ha ha. The 2 high-level Saint Demon Kings floated in the air, laughing sinisterly as endless evil aura surged from their bodies. The 2 girls instantly became serious. The 9 treasures colored glass had actually been controlled by these demons, and they were using it to fish. Chi. Rip. One of the Saint Demon Kings raised his hand and clawed out, forming a huge black claw that covered the sky. It was as if he could kill through space. The power of this palm was close to the late stage of the star-receiving realm. They were actually 2 peak-level Saint Demon Kings. Bang! Before the 2 beauties could even make a move, the chaotic saber chi that filled the sky had already cut open the sky-covering black claw. Then, it instantly exploded, and with a bang, countless saber chi fragments exploded. The 2 girls lightly covered their red lip. They had seen this saber before. It was that Prince Lin Chen. What? What a sharp saber aura! The 2 Saint Demon Kings were shocked. They immediately circulated their demonic aura to defend themselves. 2 grayish-white talismans fell from the sky, and all the power of the 2 Saint Demon Kings froze and slowed down. Chi. Rip. A saber aura in the shape of a full moon spun rapidly, whistling through the air with the power of lightning. Rumble. Then, 5 arrows shimmering with faint purple light shot out from the top of their heads. The saber aura fragments rained down like a storm. The full moon saber aura flashed and slashed horizontally. The arrows that could shatter the sun and moon shot over from above. The 2 Saint Demon Kings were hit by the slowing runes and were attacked from all sides. With a bang, they were directly blown apart by the endless attacks. Attribute light balls fell and floated in the sky. Rumble. A hurricane swept over as the silver-robed youth flew over on the Saint Dragon. He was truly majestic and domineering. The 2 girls were delighted and shocked. They hurriedly rushed in front of Lin Chen. The elegant senior sister in a light yellow dress smiled sweetly. Prince Lin Chen is indeed unparalleled. These 2 Saint Demon Kings are comparable to Star Realm cultivators. Suddenly, Lin Chen reached out and grabbed her snow-white hand. The beauty exclaimed, her heart trembling slightly. Prince Lin Chen is holding my hand. Could it be that he has taken a liking to me? Stinky man. He loves every woman he sees. Ah, his eyes are so sharp. So shy. He saved me so handsomely just now. Although it's the first time, it's still Lin Chun swung his hand back. Whoosh. Rumble. The beauty turned into a shooting star in the sky. Senior sister. Her junior sister looked at her senior sister in disbelief. She was directly thrown away by Lin Chen. Is he King serious? Lin Chen leaped and instantly grabbed the 9 treasures exquisite dragon not far away. The Saint Dragon took away the attribute light balls with lightning speed. Before he left, Marshal Lin impatiently threw out a sentence. Go up and play. Don't disturb me from snatching treasures. The remaining junior sister was flustered in the wind and couldn't calm down for a long time. Chapter 1433. Prince Lin Chen. Ah! Oh my God, is this true? The 3 of them who had just caught up to Lin Chen looked at the Demon King bone fragments around them, and their hearts were in turmoil. Killing 2 high-level Saint Demon Kings in an instant? Sir Lin Chen, how much strength is he hiding? Shangguan Chen trembled. He did not have time to think too much as he followed Feng Shui, and Yuxian, to catch up to Lin Chen. Lin Chen could not tear space to move forward in the battlefield of the 9 races. He could only push his movement skill to the maximum and move forward at full speed. My speed was still too slow just now. I still had to use my archery skills to kill those 2 guys. It's not fast enough. It's time. If other monsters heard Lin Chen's thoughts, they would have cursed out loud. It was not that there were no monsters who could kill 2 late-stage Saint Demon Kings, but to kill 2 of them in an instant was almost impossible. Lin Chen actually thought it was too slow. System: Strengthen Absolute Blaze, Freezing Sky, Demon Slayer, 9 Heaven's Wrath, Spiritual Rhino, Scorching God and Thunder Rush. Lin Chen began to strengthen the sacred equipment. One of the reasons he had forged the sacred equipment before was to strengthen the sacred equipment. It would allow his sacred equipment to have an absolute advantage. Host possesses intermediate strengthening points, 10,650 points. Strengthening Grade 7 Sacred Equipment, Absolute Blaze +1 successfully. Consumed 1 intermediate strengthening point. 1 intermediate strengthening point was equivalent to 100 million intermediate strengthening points. The consumption of Grade 7 Sacred Equipment was really terrifying. Strengthening Grade 7 Sacred Equipment, Spiritual Rhino +14 successfully. Consumed 21 intermediate strengthening points. Lin Chen used up all his strengthening points. His flying dagger technique, Lotus Dance, was strengthened to +15. All his sacred equipment were strengthened to +15. Its power was increased by 410%. In addition, Purple Star Clouds from Purple Cloud King Valley was strengthened to +14. In the category of Grade 7 Sacred Equipment, Lin Chen's current sacred equipment was equivalent to the strongest. Moreover, what Lin Chen hadn't discovered was that the 7 saint artifacts that were forged from the dragon scales of the primordial Aeon Dragon had been strengthened even further, and the ability to slightly affect time had expanded. At this moment, 300,000 miles away, between a silver mountain gorge, it suddenly soared into the sky and bloomed with dazzling brilliance. Boom! Boom! The space trembled, and a ball of silver-white light condensed like a vortex. Layers of silver-white clouds rose in the sky, like a dream. This is the sign of the birth of the seed of the plant of destiny. This energy wave is at least a middle-grade plant of providence seed. When the monstrous geniuses within 1,000,000 miles sensed it, they rushed over as fast as they could. Ha 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 ha, this treasure belongs to this king. A demonic hand that blotted out the sky reached out from afar and grabbed the ball of silver light. The light receded, and the ball of silver light entered the palm of the hand. It was 3 spirit plant seeds. One was silver-white, the other was gray-white, and the last one was engraved with layers of patterns like a glazed jade. In the void, there were 5 figures floating in the air. They were all high-level Sage Demon Kings. The demon king that held the spirit plant seeds had hideous scales and a blood-red eyeball the size of a basin on its face. Pitch-black scales covered its entire body, and its limbs were like the claws of an eagle. There was a pitch-black halo above its head. Boom, boom, boom. More than 30 streaks of light arrived at the same time. They were all monstrous geniuses. When the two sides met, many of the geniuses' hearts sank when they looked at each other. The demon king that held the spirit plant seeds was a top-level sage demon king. Even the weakest top-level sage demon king could have a sage heart of the human race. When the blood-eyed demon king saw that many geniuses had arrived, he pulled the air, and his demonic aura soared into the sky like a dragon. Sage demon heavenly prison. Oh no! All the monstrous geniuses present knew that something was wrong. Unable to retreat, the demonic aura turned into a halo and instantly enveloped hundreds of thousands of miles, forming a huge cage that was 1,000,000 feet tall. Although the geniuses present were all late-stage or perfected life and death realm cultivators who had opened more than 57 sage points, they were the most powerful group of geniuses of the human race. They could challenge ordinary mid-stage or late-stage astral realm cultivators, and some of them could even fight against perfected astral realm cultivators. However, it was extremely difficult to fight a top-level sage demon king that had a sage heart. Not to mention, there were 4 other high-level sage demon kings with the battle strength of a perfected astral realm cultivator. If they fought this battle head-on, there was a high chance that someone would die. The blood-eye demon king looked around and grinned evilly. This is wonderful. Not only have I obtained a rare treasure, but I've also encountered prey. In the words of you humans, this is called traveling far and wide in search of something, only to find it without any effort, right? He had entered the human battlefield this time to hunt these human geniuses. Now, he wanted both the treasure and the human race. The spirit plant seeds in his hands have astral travel fruit. At that moment 2 monstrous geniuses shouted. Everyone perked up. Astral travel fruit. This item was so precious that it was rarely found in the sacred boundary. Low-grade astral travel fruits were already priceless. Mid-grade astral travel fruits, and spirit plant seeds at that, were priceless treasures. Only in the 9 races battlefield could one occasionally find 1 or 2. Humans would die for wealth, just like birds would die for food. Hearing that there was a mid-grade astral travel fruit seed, more than half of the 30-odd geniuses present did not rush to break through the encirclement. Instead, they faintly showed signs of surrounding the group of sage demon kings. Since ancient times, humans and demons could not coexist, and humans rarely refused to fight. Oh? A bunch of ants, and you want to defy me? The moment the top-level sage demon king stepped forward, the aura formed by the group of monstrous geniuses was broken and gradually disintegrated. I'm going to tear off their flesh bit by bit later. The 4 sage demon kings each took a side, and all the monstrous geniuses were on high alert. Everyone, the more we hold back, the higher the chances of something happening. Don't hold back anymore, let's go all out. The monstrous geniuses exchanged voice transmissions and instantly attacked. Murderous intent radiated in all directions as they unleashed many orange-grade ultimate techniques. The monstrous geniuses who could enter the 9 races battlefield were all famous geniuses. The moment they attacked, their powerful foundation and battle experience were fully displayed. It was the same for high-level holy demon kings. Not to mention the holy world, these existences were top-notch experts in the entire universe. You're overestimating yourselves? The blood-eyed demon king waved its huge claws and tore dozens of claw marks in the void, tearing apart the monstrous genius's attacks. Following that, the corner of its mouth cracked open, and a pitch-black ball as deep as the abyss shot out. Rumble! Wherever the black ball passed, light would be distorted, and everything would be sucked dry. More than 20 monstrous geniuses were forced to unleash their trump cards, bombarding the black ball with attacks before it gradually disappeared. Die! The Blood-Eye Demon King sneered. Its only blood-red eyeball opened and closed, and dozens of blood-red beams swept across. Swoosh! Some of the monstrous geniuses dodged, while others were hit by the blood-red beams. Large chunks of flesh and blood instantly evaporated from their arms or shoulders, revealing the glowing white bones. It was a terrifying sight. Hiss! Many of the monstrous geniuses gasped in pain, but they gritted their teeth and endured it. Many of the monstrous geniuses had solemn expressions. A top-level sage demon king was indeed an existence that stood at the pinnacle of all living beings. If that blood-red beam hit their vitals, they would probably die on the spot. Throughout human history, a huge price had to be paid to surround and kill a top-level sage demon king. Surrounding and killing a top-level sage demon king was no different from starting a large-scale war. Many human sages had to pay the price in exchange for the death of a top-level sage demon king. This was a truly unparalleled battle. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.